its boldest lineup. This is where the trends get tested and stocks get conviction.
I'll recommend a buy call on a stock only when I'm fully convinced on the stock. With a table thumbnail.
Welcome back. You're watching NDTV Profit, and this is a show that gets all your stock-related queries answered. And you're watching, of course, Ask Profit. I'm Mahima Vachharani, and with me is Puneet Zaveri, and we are going to help solve all your stock-related questions. But for that, you'll have to call us or WhatsApp us with all your stock-related queries on the numbers that are flashing on your screen up there. But before we start doing that, a quick look as to how the markets are doing. Nifty 50 still trading a percent higher, 250 odd points of an uptick is what we're seeing. The bank Nifty also following through, even doing better than the benchmarks, up 1.7%. Let's try to pull up the mid-cap 150 and the small-cap 250 as well. Slightly underperforming the benchmarks, but the mid-cap 150 is up 0.7 odd percent, and the small-cap 250, however, is almost in tandem with the benchmark, so up by about 1.1 odd percent. Of course, that's with regards to where the markets go. But let's start taking all your stock-related questions. We've got our first question. By the way, to answer all of these questions, we are joined by Nirav Asher, Head of Equity Research at Latin Manhala Securities, joining us now. Nirav, a very good afternoon to you. The first question that we have is from V. Murli, who's writing us from Bengaluru, asking about Hitachi Energy. He's bought it at the levels of 35,990, and he wants to know whether he can continue to hold the 15 shares that he's already bought. Nirav, your view on this one?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the invite. All the three players in the T&D power T&D space, that is Hitachi Energy, Siemens Energy, and GE Vernova T&D are a screaming hold. So I think you should continue to hold the stock.
All right, the next one that we have is on Bank of Maharashtra. Shankar from Bengaluru says that whether he can go ahead and invest in Bank of Maharashtra. He's planning to buy around 1,000 odd shares. He's looking at a target from a slightly short-term perspective, but wants fundamental view on this one. Nirav, both fundamental analysts as well as technical analysts have been talking about this counter and suggesting this counter. Do you think there's more steam left now to kind of enter the counter?
Well, I think a good part of the performance has been factored into the price at this point of time. But it is going to be very interesting going forward how the performance of the bank is going to improve or not. And I think there is a strong amount of interest in the stock. So I think he should buy the stock with a medium-term perspective.
All right, the next one that we have is from Radha Krishnan, who's writing us from Kochi, asking about NBCC or Ircon. Which one is a better bet right now from a long-term perspective? Nirav, your view?
From a long-term perspective, I think I would go with NBCC because they have a better quality prospects in terms of real estate and the kind of contracts which they back, and there is a possibility of getting better margins.
Let's go across and take the next stock-related query now, and this one's coming in on Chennai Petro, bought by a viewer Jaideep at 1,074. Let's pull up that counter quickly, and so very close to his current market price, and he wants to know if he can hold out for another year. Nirav, with the volatility that we are seeing currently, especially in the refining space, in the OMC space, would you recommend holding on to this counter for the near term, maybe till the year as well, as Jaideep is asking?
Well, I think the quality refiners are definitely going to do well. So I think the advice is to hold with a medium-term horizon.
Okay, all right. I think we've got Ankit calling us from Pune. Ankit, a very good afternoon to you. What's your query about?
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for taking my call. Firstly, I would like to take a moment to appreciate the whole team of NDTV Ask Profit, as I'm getting so much deep knowledge of stock-related queries that are answered during this show. Wonderful anchoring by Alex, Mahima, and Puneet. Kudos to you, and excellent commentary with detailing views on stocks by panel members.
Thank you so much,
me learn more about the stock market. So my query is on QPay. I have 500 stocks in my portfolio with average price of 44.96.
Okay.
Yeah, although I am a long-term investor, I was thinking, what should I do with this counter if sell partially? And with that partial profit booking, I wanted to know the where I can invest in bank stocks. Like I have three preferences: Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, and Canara Bank.
Sure.
Please suggest number 1 to 3. Yeah.
Okay, Ankit, got your
For
question.
long-term horizon or for 1 year.
Got it. Ankit, got your question, and because you've praised us so much, by the way, thank you so much for those kind words. Means a lot, and we're more than happy to answer all your stock related questions. And he's smart enough to ask like 2 questions in just 1 question. But since you've praised us so much, Ankit, I'll just take those 2 questions for you today. Nirav, he's already sitting on handsome profits right now. What he's saying is that whether he can go ahead and book partial profits and invest in one of the banks he mentioned. Any view on this one?
Well, I think it's advisable to hold on to the stock. That is the first part, because having made such handsome gains and with the stock doing so well, I think there's no reason to consider an exit from that. But still, if he wants to book some gains and he's looking at some banking stocks, then I think in order of priority, it will be Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, and Bank of India.
That view, Nirav, but let me also welcome in Vishnukant Upadhyay, AVP Research at Advisory Master Capital Services. AVP Research and Advisory at Master Capital Services. Vishnu, very good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining in. Let me go across and take the next query now. This one's coming in on Apollo Microsystems, bought in way back in April of 2025 from a viewer in Bangalore at 118. So sitting on massive profits for this counter. That's up 11% today. Nirav, what would you recommend our viewer to do? Because sitting on massive gains, as I mentioned, would you just continue the ride with this particular stock? What's your opinion?
Well, it is advisable to hold at this point of time, because there have been many new areas which Apollo Microsystems will be entering, and I think FY27 is going to be far more exciting in terms of performance. So the advice would be to hold.
Okay, all right. The next one that we have is coming in from, this is from Miss Sabita, who's writing us from Hyderabad. She says she's holding both PFC and REC and wants to know if she can exit REC and add more of PFC. Vishnukant, your view on this one?
Hi, very good afternoon. Well, so PFC is looking quite good. The stock has, declined around more than 10 or 12% from its recent 2-week high, and currently it is just taking support around a very crucial horizontal price zone. So I believe one should hold PFC, or one can do averaging as well, with keeping the stop loss below 422. On the higher side, I'm expecting 463, 475 sort of levels can be on card very soon.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on both REC and PFC. But viewers as well as panelists, it's time to slip into a very, very short break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back answering more queries on the other side.
Investments in specialized investment fund involves relatively higher risk, including potential loss of capital, liquidity risk, and market volatility. Please read all investment strategy related documents carefully before making the investment decision.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices.
And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information blitz into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp takes on what to watch next. Editor's Cut, every Friday, 3:30 p.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Economy, business, world, technology. Noise filtered, numbers decoded. Insights that rewire your worldview. From governance to growth, we connect the dots. Your daily edge, your global advantage. India Business Report with me, Gauri Dwivedi, weeknights on NDTV Profit.
He has been tracking markets for over a decade, spots the trends before they hit the screen, and he is now bringing his analysis.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit, the afternoon edition, right here on NDTV Profit. Let's go across and take the next sets of stock-related queries. We're getting a caller now from Ahmedabad, and Nitin is joining us for a stock-related query. Nitin, very good afternoon to you. What's your query?
पंडित सर, मेरे पास 150 क्वांटिटी एरिस लाइफ साइंस की है जो मैंने आज ही ली है.
ओके.
1350 पे.
ठीक है. और आपने ये चार्ट देख के लिए नितिन?
सॉरी सर,
ये आपने चार्ट देख के लिए नितिन या लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए लिए फंडामेंटल्स पे?
नहीं, मैं रिजल्ट काफी अच्छी आई थी तो उस हिसाब से मैंने लिए थे. तो मैं ये सजेस्ट मतलब आपसे राय चाहिए कि मैं लॉन्ग टर्म में स्टॉक के लिए रुक सकता हूँ.
ठीक है नितिन जी. और आपके पास और कोई फार्मा का काउंटर है अब आपके पोर्टफोलियो में या सिर्फ ये पहला वाला है?
मेरा पूरा पोर्टफोलियो सर फार्मा से भरा हुआ
है. ठीक है नितिन जी, आपको बहुत फार्मा इन्वेस्टर. ठीक है.
हाँ, यही फील्ड से हूँ तो उस हिसाब से. हाँ,
अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया नितिन जी. फिर तो मुझे आपसे टिप लेनी चाहिए, बट वो कभी हम और करेंगे. आप कल हमको फोन कीजिएगा तो हम उससे बात करेंगे. बट नीरव, एरिस लाइफ साइंस पे आपका क्या व्यू है? नितिन जी को क्या आपने पोर्टफोलियो में रखना चाहिए? अगर आपने रिजल्ट देखा है तो उस पर क्या व्यू रहेगा आपका?
एरिस लाइफ साइंसेस जो है उनका परफॉर्मेंस हैज़ बीन क्वाइट गुड. और हमने देखा है कि बहुत सारी फार्मा कंपनीज जो है डोमेस्टिक परफॉर्मेंस काफ़ी अच्छी रही है. मोस्ट फार्मा कंपनीज, फ्रंटलाइन कंपनीज ने डबल डिजिट ग्रोथ रिपोर्ट किया है एज फार एज इंडिया ऑपरेशंस आर कंसर्न. तो आई थिंक आप डेफिनेटली ये स्टॉक को होल्ड कर सकते हैं मीडियम टर्म होराइजन के साथ.
Right, the next one that we have is on Anupam Rasayan. Our viewer Sriram Raghuraman has bought 3 shares at the levels of 80 rupees and wants a fundamental view on this one from a long-term horizon. Considering the acquisition into place, Nirav, your view on Anupam Rasayan?
Well, I think it can continue to hold, but we've seen in the case of all these companies that they have very aggressive plans for expansion. And that requires a huge amount of money. So there is a lot of fundraising which tends to happen, and the balance sheet tends to be loaded. But I think he can continue to hold nonetheless.
All right. Well, Bliss GVS also. Let's pull up that counter if that gains have continued on this one as well, because he's also holding 80 shares of that, and it's come off from the day's high, but certainly one of the gainers because of the acquisition. As Mahima also highlighted. The next question, coming in now, it's from our viewer Pepet from Assam, and he's holding shares of Escorts at 2958, asking what he should do with this counter now. Vishnu, any view on the charts, because it's been in that momentum where all the gains have been sold into, and it's back in that 28 to 2800 range. Is this time going to be any different?
Yes, definitely. Technically, stock is looking, moderately positive. In fact, although the stock is trading below its all key short-term as well as long-term moving average, but the way prices are behaving from the lower levels and it, just recouped from the 52-week low, I believe prices will definitely take out its a 21-day exponential moving average that aligns somewhere around 3050. So stay long in the counter and maintain a stop loss below 2880.
The next one is on Coforge. Arun from Hyderabad has bought 25 shares at the levels of 1440. He wants to know whether he can continue to hold, sell. Vishnukant, your view on the charts?
Well, so the stock is currently trading below its a 200-day exponential moving average, and as long as prices are trading below that level, that's a 1480 sort of levels, I'm not positive, in fact. So once the prices, gives a decisive breakout above 1480, one can go long, but as long as it is trading below that level, that could be an opportunity to get exit from the counter.
Okay, all right. It's time for our rapid fire round. Vishnukant as well as Nirav, keep your answers as short as possible. The first one is on Phenolix Cables. Raghvendra S.R. Kumar from Bengaluru has 800 shares of this counter. Continue to hold, Vishnukant?
Yes, hold the position with the stop loss below 1020.
Got it. Well, the next question is a very interesting one on KPR Mills. One of our viewers has bought shares at 60 rupees per share, and he's almost up 15x on that counter. He's also holding 6,000 shares as well. So, asking if he should continue to hold this particular counter or book out. What would you recommend, Nirav?
Hold.
Okay, the next one is on RPG Life Sciences. Naresh from Hyderabad has bought it at the levels of 1925. Currently, it's trading around over 2200 odd levels. Continue to hold, exit, book profits. Vishnukant?
Yes, definitely hold the position with stop loss below 2150.
Samvadara Motherson Vishnukant is the other one. Sudhito holds shares at 132 and he's holding 1000 shares. Should he continue to hold them in the short term?
Yes, definitely hold the position.
Okay, Birlasoft versus Coforge. Which one is a better bet from a short-term perspective, Vishnukant? Birlasoft and Coforge.
From the present juncture, Coforge is looking slightly better rather than Birlasoft. So, although I am not very much positive on both counter, but if I want to select between these two, so Coforge is looking slightly better.
Okay.
Lemon Tree is the other one. Bought shares at 93 by Sriram, and he's saying, Vishnu, that this counters crossed the 200 DMA. What should he continue to do that?
Yeah, definitely. The stock has crossed the 21-day EMA. One should hold the stock with the stop loss below 109.
Okay, Power Grid 100 shares bought at the level of 318. Nirav. Lalita from Bengaluru wants to know if she can continue to hold this from a long-term perspective.
Well, can continue to hold, but there are better alternatives.
IRB hold shares bought at 55 rupees by a viewer Muthukumaran, and he's holding 8,000 shares as well. So currently sitting on deep losses. Asking if he should hold on or sell, Nirav. What would you recommend? Any strategy also for him to recover some losses right now?
Well, I think the desired course of action would be to take the loss and exit the counter completely and go in for some good alternative, power sector play.
Okay. Varun Beverages bought at an average price of 540. Continue to hold for a year, Vishnukant?
Definitely hold the stock, maintain the stop loss below 505.
Suzlon bought at 54.85 Vishnukant by a viewer Manish, and he's holding 1,000 shares. Any view on the counter?
Stay long, and if you haven't bought the counter, please go long on the counter, maintain the stop loss below 5050.
Nalco bought at the levels of 186. 3,000 shares is what Harish from Belgium holding wants to know if we can continue to hold this from a long-term perspective. Nirav?
Well, hold from a long-term perspective, yes.
HAL bought at 5050, and this is Siva from Amravati, and he's holding on to 1,000 shares, Vishnukant. So currently in also very big losses. Asking a strategy in which he can continue holding, or what would you recommend for the next 3 to 6 months?
I mean, the entire defense space is, just consolidating. So I would say one can get a 50% position, exit from the HAL and put the money in PEL in the same defense counter space.
Okay, Texmaco Rail, what could be the target price, Vishnukant? Continue to hold, exit is what our viewer wants to know.
Which is stock?
Texmaco Rail. stock is up 5% today.
Yes, yes. So yes, the stock is looking quite good and likely to approach towards a 200-day exponential moving average 124. So maintain the position.
Got CleanMax, Enviro, recent stock listing, and Srikanth from Bengaluru wants to enter this counter. Nirav, would you recommend that?
Yes, from a medium-term perspective.
Hitachi Energy, is this a good time to enter, Vishnukant?
Definitely one can go long. It's a high ticket size counter. One can go long, but stock can come down towards 33,500. So that's a good building area to go long with.
Got it. Okay. With that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Ask Profit. Nirav as well as Vishnukant, thank you so much for helping us answer all those stock related queries. But viewers, completely out of time on Ask Profit, but do stay tuned. India Market Close comes up next.
Investments in specialized investment fund involves relatively higher risk, including potential loss of capital, liquidity risk, and market volatility. Please read all investment strategy related documents carefully before making the investment decision.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information plates into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp takes on what to watch next. Editor's Cut, every Friday, 3:30 p.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Economy, business, world, technology. Noise filtered, numbers decoded. Insights that rewire your worldview. From governance to growth, we connect the dots. Your daily edge, your global advantage. India Business Report with me, Gauri Dwivedi, weeknights on NDTV Profit.
He has been tracking markets for over a decade, spots the trends before they hit the screen. And he is now bringing his analysis to the show that the market watches. Watch Sharad Dubey on Know Your Company, a show that puts the most traded stocks under the scanner. We dissect the company so that you, the investor, don't have to get the management to answer questions relevant to you. Watch Know Your Company weekdays at 11:30 a.m. to understand your next big bet. New year, new power panel, India Market Open, now in its boldest lineup. This is where the trends get tested and stocks get conviction.
I'll recommend a buy call on a stock only when I'm fully convinced on the stock. With a table thumping buy.
And when the street wants the levels, he brings the chart.
Charts speak the truth, and I deliver the levels with no frills.
Parag Thakkar and Kush Bohra are now part of the morning crew with Tamanna, Neeraj and Alex. Same show, sharper voices. Every morning on India Market Open, your favorite market show just got better. On NDTV Profit, for your profit.
Welcome, you're watching India Market Close, and it's turning out to be quite a delightful day simply because, I know we didn't hit 24,000, but simply because we've stayed on, Alex, 250 points up, about 1% up, and if you pull up the intraday for the Nifty, you will see that we have steadily stayed in the positive territory and not given up too much of gain, which is quite heartening. It may be because of Brent prices being below $100 a barrel after nearly 80 days, but definitely some strength being seen in the market.
You know, it's been pointed out very interestingly by technical analysts and watchers of commodities as well, is that when a commodity moves up, it generally moves up in a very fast and furious fashion, and when it gives up those gains, then it is conclusive. It's not like the equity markets that keep moving within certain ranges. So it'll be interesting to see whether that break below $100 to the barrel is durable and stays. But your point is well made. I think, and there you go. So it's dropped below the $100 per barrel mark. But the breadth looks incredible today. It's beyond just the Nifty 50. The broader markets also look great. And so just before we get into several other aspects, let's talk about the mid-cap index. It's up 0.75%. Pull up the small cap index. It's at very close to the high point of the day, 1.1% or thereabouts. And the advanced decline ratios holding may have narrowed just a tad bit, but it's still pretty wide.
You know, if we can, we should pull up the micro cap. The Nifty micro cap has been absolutely stellar today. So there is, again, which is reflective in the advanced decline ratio. But here you've seen the most strength here, about 1.5% up. PSU banks have been zooming. Let's pull up the Nifty heat map and then we'll go to the sectoral action as well, because the Nifty has behaved well today. Max Health, the top loser, about 2% down, not too much. ONGC, to be expected, I suppose, when crude comes off. Hindalco, you know, the commentary and the results were okay, but the street seems to not have too much excitement about Hindalco. Maybe it's also risen up. But Eicher Motors is the exciting one. And look at an Adani Enterprises, 5% up right now. Eicher Motors about 6% up. Tata Motors PV also flying. L&T, Bajaj Finance, Wipro. So you have some heavyweights coming in there. Eternal also has been quite steady throughout. So even on the Nifty, and we'll pull up the Nifty contributors just for a second. You've had quite a few of the heavyweights coming in, and the gain is also broad-based. Many a times, Alex, the commentary is that the Nifty is what? It's essentially 3 large banks, 2 large banks, 1 RIL and a couple of IT majors, and that's the heavyweight of it. But in HDFC Bank, ICICI and RIL also pulling up today.
Certainly, and just the point on Eicher Motors and the reason why it's up and about, I think a lot of people were worrying about the implications of the higher crude oil prices. Some of that worry is dissipating with crude below 100 once again. So if you pull up the likes of Seat or you pull up the likes of JK Tyre, Apollo Tyre, the tyre companies are up and about, right? So they're holding on with gains of about 2%. And I would think that there you go. So JK Tyre up as much as 5%. So some of those stocks that see a major impact on account of crude are also gaining in trade.
So the crude story is very much there, but the champions are PSU banks today. Pull up the sectoral indices for us and you'll see banks and financials right on top. PSU Bank Index, the Nifty PSU Bank Index 2% up. Financial services doing well. Look at it. It's pretty much all banks and then realty and defense, which is ruling the roost. FMCG taking a beat. Maybe Colgate-Palmolive not as exciting as people thought, and we were discussing this in the morning. But overall, it's a great screen.
Even the IT index, which in the morning was the one loser sectorally, has actually bounced back. It's tremendous gains last week, you must say.
And carrying on.
And carrying on, 0.5%. So it's looking good.
Yeah, so this is what's happening in the markets right now. What's leading to gains? Lower crude and strength in the rupee coming back. Hopes of the Iran-US settlement now gaining credence. So you've seen the Nifty gaining for a second consecutive day. Of course, it's the first day of this week. But if I look at Friday and today, it's the second consecutive day. 24,000 is clearly that key resistance. And we need a decisive close above this to open the door to 24,200 and 24,300. So key support levels, 23,900, 23,800. Bank Nifty, meanwhile, has been a stark outperformer, showing stronger momentum than frontline indices. Gains have been led by both private and PSU names, and 55,000 is acting as a resistance on the Bank Nifty. A definitive daily close above this will confirm that structural macro recovery. Let's go across to Himen Kapadi of DR Choksi FinServ this afternoon. Avinash Gorakshakar, founder and head research at Avinash Mentor Services, also with us. Himen, I'm going to come to you first. Why is 24,000 proving to be such a steep hill to climb?
A very good afternoon to you, Tamanna. Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure. Well, frankly speaking, even I agree with you. 23,800, I believe, was a headache, a bigger headache. But yes, 24,000, one, it's a psychological number. And secondly, if you see, Tamanna, on 24th April and 30th April, we've taken support around 24,000. So frankly speaking, there's a whole range between 23,300, 24,600. If you sort of compartmentalize it further, it's 23,400 to 800 and 23,800 to 24,200. So it's almost 400, 200 points. There's a bullish gap, Tamanna. I think that's a positive. If it doesn't get covered up for the next 10 days, I think I'd be even more happy. And well, yeah, things are looking hunky-dory. The daily oscillators have turned positive. The VIX has finally come below 18, which is okay. We need to go some more below 15, but yeah, things are beginning to look better. I think, like Alex mentioned, the AD line is good. So fingers crossed, unless these people do a flip-flop again, things are looking better. But 24,150 is important, above which we'll see even more green shoots.
Himen, I'm not sure if you look at the crude charts, but I was reading a social media post by somebody who used to be a commodity trader. And what he was suggesting was that there's an old school nugget that is said, where how many bull markets in commodities continue after a close below the 50-day moving average. And the crude market has seen that play out. Do you have insights that would suggest that that is indeed the case, and the possibility that we'll see, notwithstanding any change on the geopolitics, a lower crude oil price?
Okay, yeah, I track crude, Alex. I track anything which has a shelf life, including crypto. But yeah, coming back to crude, Alex. See, we've been, frankly speaking, 115, 119 was an area above which we would have gone to 135, 147. Okay, that is would have, if, when, why, what. That's not happened. As of now, as long as we are, I'm talking about Brent, as long as we are 104, it's better. 96 is support. I'd say, yeah, lower crude prices are possible. We are at crucial levels, frankly speaking. Below 96, Alex, I think I was basically bullish on crude because I felt there was one bullish move left on the upside. Now, evidently, geopolitics supersedes all this. So, as of now, if 96 holds, I'm seeing for a good bullish crude, a Brent, then it's fine. But if 96 breaks in terms of closing, Alex, I'd say that whatever positives or impending positives that me or anybody would have anticipated would get diluted. So as of now, crude has taken a short-term hit. Does this convert into a medium-term correction? I think it's possible, but 96 should be, I won't say make or break level, but a pretty important level. Alex.
Individual stocks that you're liking on the charts, Hemant?
Okay, two stocks which I like. I like pharma as a whole, but it's more of a slightly longer term call, frankly speaking, Alex. From a slightly shorter term point of view, you have 361. I think that looks quite interesting the way I see it. We've been consolidating over here. The stock is on the verge of breaking out from what is a ascending triangle formation. So I'd say buy 361 at 1135, stop loss 1105, target of 1195. And the easier one is Adani Energy Solutions. One can buy at 1400, stop loss 1325, target 1550. Looks good, fifth wave unfolding on the daily chart. It's woken up after 3 years, Alex. So frankly speaking, this is a very conservative call. I believe there's a lot more upside at the risk of sounding overly positive. I think 1600 and 1800 are coming in this calendar year. Looks great. It's a 3-year breakout. Looks good.
Okay. Adani Energy looks good. Standard disclaimers there, of course, that you're watching this on NDTV Profit is a subsidiary of AMG Media Networks Limited and Adani Group Company. And of course, Hemant giving his own views over there. Just want to get a quick view from Avinash before we get to the stock of the day and the bull versus bear of the day. Avinash, just on the markets right now, is auto looking exciting to you? Apart from an Eicher, and Eicher also bases its results, of course.
No, I think, Tamanna, the outlook definitely looks promising. I think, the good monsoon is going to percolate into a reasonably good, strong rural demand. And I think, hopefully, if interest rates don't go up, and I think the volume push continues, because typically, April to June quarter is the first push-up quarter. I think there has been some, fears in the industry that steel prices have started going up. So some amount of cost push inflation would affect their margins. But the volume growth continues to be solid. I think if you look at two-wheelers, you look at passenger cars, you look at tractors, commercial vehicles, all these segments have been growing in double digits. So my sense is that, we'll have to wait for the quarter one numbers, but we are quite positive on two-wheeler companies like Hero MotoCorp, who's got a large rural exposure, commercial vehicle players like Tata Motors, CV, and obviously Mahindra and Mahindra, because these are companies which are sitting on a reasonably good order book. I think the traction will continue, but I think we'll have to wait and watch how they face the margin pressure. But definitely at these lower levels, if one were to accumulate, the next 12 to 15 months outlook looks positive. Maybe in the short term, there could be a little bit of volatility.
What's your top pick among the OEMs?
I think we continue to be positive on M&M. I think it's one of the most stable players, and I think it definitely qualifies for a re-rating.
Qualifies for a re-rating. M&M is Avinash Korakshakar's top pick. But let's talk about the bull versus bear candidate today. And we have Blue Jet on our radar. That stock has completely been buzzing, gaining in trade as the company witnesses sequential recovery in their results. However, revenue is still weak. Varsha has both sides of the story. Varsha.
Well, there are some companies where you also have to see how sequentially companies doing better, because that's what management said when it comes to Blue Jet. And hence, if you see, though year on year the number looks bad, but quarter on quarter we are clearly seeing that visible recovery. 22% of growth seen in revenue, EBITDA margin uptick, as said by management, and hence you're seeing that buzz in the stock. Well, on to the bear case, of course, year-on-year basis, if you see revenue is down 31%, core performance has been weak for the company. But pipeline remains strong when it comes to this counter. 20 active RFPs has GLP-1 plus contrast media. Now, contrast media itself is growing in double digit. You have GLP-1, the current hot topic when it comes to pharma, and this company is not behind when it comes to this counter as well. But CDMO success all depends on execution and client timelines, and company has to be successful when it comes to the execution. While talking about the contrast media business has multiple triggers. Number one, and the backward integration plus NC plus iodinated media media launched in FY27 are the core growth prospects when it comes to Blue Jet, but business is heavily dependent on validations and of course approvals, and hence this is one of the key bear case I would say when it comes to Blue Jet if the execution is not on time. Well, moving on, the Mahad Unit 3 backward integration will improve cost structure for the company, but business is heavily of course dependent on validations and approvals, and this is still in validation phase and hence a negative point when it comes to Blue Jet. But overall, when I talk about this counter, the story over here is if you're seeing the sequentially company is doing very well, and contrast media, you have GLP-1, which are the next key triggers when it comes to this counter. But yes, you have to keep a watch when it comes to the execution timelines and what is management, walking the talk, I would say, when it comes to this counter. But overall, yes, till now it is looking at recovery, and hence market is rewarding this stock.
Stock is up over 7%. Pull up the chart intraday and see what it's doing right now. And just very quickly, Avinash, let me come across, it's 8% higher right now, and the reaction has come through mid-market today. What do you think about the scenarios that have just been laid out by Varsha? She's laid out the bull case and the bear case. Which, according to you, is the more compelling argument?
No, I think, Alex, the bull case looks pretty attractive because, they have been a large player in the CDMO space. And I think, these validations and approvals are a matter of time. I think in the next, say, 1 or 2 quarters, the market is expecting some good news from the company on these aspects. And I think numbers will definitely improve quite significantly, in FY27. Ever since the company went public, the company has delivered good numbers. But I think the real, trigger has got to be the validation part. So my sense is maybe the first half of FY26-27, after that you could see a significant amount of, re-rating or maybe some more appetite from the investor. But today's, I think 7-8% move is largely because of the fact that there is some expectation that in the management call, some good news could be announced, and that possibly is a very critical aspect why the stock has, been in the limelight.
Okay, Nifty has hit 24,000.
Briefly,
but we got there. 24,000 mark has been reclaimed after 11 sessions. And, we were talking about this, Hemen, about how 24,000 is turning out to be a tough one to crack. Why is this level important, and, what could be next if we manage to sustain?
Tamna, there have been bearish gaps. If you see the charts on 8th May to 11th May, there was a bearish gap between 24,126 and 23,997. So that is, frankly speaking, why you mentioned why 24,000 is turning out to be a headache for the markets. This is one bearish gap, and the other one, Tamanna, is between 24,284 and 24,126. So, 24,253. So you have these 3 gaps. They were bearish. One got covered up. The second is in the process of covered up. That's why we are facing this, actual battle at 24,000 is because of this bullish gap. If the gap gets covered up, we see a small correction coming down. And after that, we see a further upside. We run into the last bearish gap. So, plus there's a holiday on Thursday, Tamanna. Plus there's a monthly expiry. Obviously, rollovers are there. OIS obviously.
But Hemen, the argument would be because of all of the reasons that you have talked about, that there is a holiday on Thursday, there's a monthly expiry. The argument would be that you would not even sustain how we sustained the whole day. The fact is that at least we have sustained.
If we've spent 7 trading sessions in the spot market, Tamanna, between 23,300 and 23,800, and today we overcome that with a bullish gap. Obviously, things are positive for the market the way I see it. There is strength. There's a mini breakout coming in. So everything seems to point toward a further upside. But yes, now since there is a bullish gap, the overhang remains that we might cover up this bullish gap this week itself. So frankly speaking, it's all about these gap games that we are seeing. But the bias is turning positive. Things are looking up, notwithstanding a daily or an intraday point of view. Tamanna.
What is, Hemen, the role of the banks? Because at this juncture, while the Nifty 50 is now above the 24,000 mark, The Nifty Bank is at the high point, up now close to 2%. And it is the private sector banks that are contributing the most right now to the benchmark's move. Hemen, what's the contribution of the Nifty Bank in this move upwards?
5 weeks of a downside, Alex, and the private banks, I have clearly more weightage on the Bank Nifty than the PSUs. Here there's a bullish gap, plus we're seeing a breakout of sorts. The daily oscillators, MACD, RSI, stochastic have given a crossover buy. If you're seeing how much is the contribution, I think it was lagging. It was lagging behind. We've seen some relative strength. Hopefully this picks up further. I believe that this 5-week decline has given a time and price retracement of the move from 50,000 to 57,500. The way I see it, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, deeply oversold, downside limit. Even if you see there's a corrective bounce, but a very strong corrective bounce, I won't say strong, but solid corrective bounce is around the corner. So I believe the Bank Nifty contribution to the Nifty is going to increase rather than decrease.
What are the short-term levels, Hemen, for the Nifty Bank that you're seeing?
Okay, if I were to look at short-term levels, spot for the Bank Nifty. Okay, firstly, the resistance, support comes in at 54,467. Resistance comes in at 55,264, 56,161. Resistance levels on the upside. And there's also the 55-day exponential moving average, Alex, coming in at 55,395. So few resistance levels on the upside and support on the downside.
All right, let's get back into the stocks that we're watching today. And Park Medi World is up and about. Pull up that chart. It's up as much as 7%, one of many actually today, and we'll bring you those as well. But Park Medi is surging on account of an announcement of an acquisition of Medicity Hospital in Uttarakhand in a 177 crore all-cash deal. Varsha joining in to tell you about why the street is bullish on this. Varsha.
Well, this will mark entry into Uttarakhand, which is the 6th state for company, and of course the deal is valued at 177 crore in all cash transaction. And if I were to talk about the target company's financials, well, the financials have grown, revenue have grown at around 14 to 15% of CAGR in the last 2 years. And Medicity has 330-bed multi-speciality hospital. It's the largest hospital in that Kumaon region, and the facility spans around 1.64 lakh square feet. Now, also offers 20 specialities across key medical segments, which includes, cardiac, oncology, IVF, and pediatric, and more. But the strategic rationale for a company entering into this is, of course, this will mark entry into Uttarakhand, its 6th state, and the focus is on expanding into underserved healthcare market, and which is a part of inorganic expansion strategy focused on acquiring established hospitals. And the acquisition will be earning accretive over the medium term, and the growth will come from better utilization and service expansion. So just, and this will mark companies' entries into Uttarakhand, its 6th state, and hence you're seeing a stock going buzz in trade today.
Okay, 7% up on Park Medi World, but buzzing are more than enough stocks to pick up the breadth, the market breadth right now. Something very interesting is happening in the markets right now. Pull up the Nifty intraday, pull up the Brent for us, pull up the Bank Nifty for us. We need to look at some of these indicators and just take a look at what's happening. 24,027. Managing to stay and sustain. I think, Hemen, in a second I'm going to come and ask you whether you'd buy the Nifty right now, because it's a question which needs to be answered. The Brent July futures at 98.76. WTI June futures have dropped even further. All of these days we've seen enough false starts of a hope of the completion of this war, but the key indicators have never seen as strong a move as before. Bank Nifty about 2.5% up. Bank Nifty or Nifty, where is the index called right now, Hemen, if at all?
I'd say buy both with keeping today's low as a stop loss, Samanna, because both are bullish gaps, both look good. I mean, I'd say buy both, split your risk, but they're looking nice.
Buy both. I'm assuming someone has been sitting on cash and has the cash to buy both, but you're saying split the risk, whatever it is, and keep the day's low as a stop loss. Okay, time for that moment in the show where we talk about all the chatter from D Street. Samit Sarkar joining in So Amit, apart from the specific companies that you're going to talk about and what's buzzing and what's not, what is the chatter on why such a positive mood in the markets? Because the momentum has just increased in the last 20 minutes.
See, if you look at the market, it was consolidating for a very long time, and some of the moves are also technical. It has been sustaining about the 23,900 level throughout the day, so some technical buying must have also triggered this move that we are seeing currently. Also, for specifically for Nifty Bank Index, there was some basket buying that was expected. That did happen, some part of it on Friday. Some of it was supposed to happen today, so that could have also led the Nifty Bank Index and the Nifty Index on the higher side. So that basket buying coming in might have aided further up move in the markets. And overall, the sentiments are positive given the fact that crude has slipped, crude has fallen down, rupee has strengthened, and also there is increased optimism over the settlement between Iran and US war. So all these factors might have led to this up move in the market. But few stocks that dealers have highlighted. Firstly, it's Premier Energies, now a big block deal that happened in trade today. We did indicate about that on Friday. So that was a khabar confirmed. Plus, what we are understanding from dealers is that Capital Group was one of the large buyers in this block deal that happened in trade today. So keep an eye out for Premier Energies. For Adani Energy Solution, multiple dealing rooms are recommending their clients to buy this counter for June series. And the stock is up nearly 3% currently. For IOCL, dealers indicate that among oil marketing companies, IOCL will be the biggest beneficiary if crude prices continue to slide further down. And this is obviously assuming that things improve from here on. When it comes to True Alt Bioenergy, there are buy flows on the HNI desk. Dealers expect some positive tie-up with the Japanese firm very soon. That could be announced here. So keep an eye out for True Alt Bioenergy as well. And lastly, when it comes to Premier Explosive, the stock has locked in an upper circuit of 20%. Now, there are media reports which indicate that there could be a potential acquisition by another listed company. But what I'm picking up from the street is that there's a buzz of a big order win that could come in that the company might announce from DRDO. So that could also be one of the reasons why the stock has locked in an upper circuit in trade.
Okay. So much to unpack, and I would say the buzz is back. Avinash Gorakshakar, if there is someone who's been sitting on the sidelines, where should they jump in?
No, I think, Tamanna, my guess is that, look at sectors like hospitals and hotels. I think hospitals, you mentioned about Park Medi recently. This is one company which has got a 3,800 bed capacity, and, it did very well in FY26. I think the next year is going to be even much better because more than 1,000 beds are going to be added. This recent acquisition will further augment their bed capacity. I think they are prevalent in most of the large growing markets in northern India like Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan. And I think clearly, the average realization per bed plus the average, the capital cost per bed is one of the lowest if you compare it with the other new listed players. So my sense is that, despite the stock moving up from around 245, 250 to 277 now, it still presents a good opportunity. And of course, our favorites would be, look at large companies like Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata Motors, CV. I think these are the companies which would move definitely significantly once, we finally get a signal that the war is ended and the ceasefire is announced. Because market sentiment would obviously take the index higher, and these index heavyweights would obviously, definitely be picked up in the momentum. So we continue to be positive on commercial vehicles, on hospital stocks, and even hotel stocks. Hotel stocks also, I think something like a Chalet Hotel or maybe a Lemon Tree could definitely be looked at.
Okay, so Chalet and Lemon Tree, what about in commercial vehicles and in hospital? Your top picks there?
Within commercial vehicles, Tata Motors CV is a good bet. I think even at these levels.
Okay, and hospitals?
Hospitals, we like Apollo Hospitals and we like Park Medi.
Okay, Apollo and Park Medi. All right, let's just look at what's happening with Hindalco. Hindalco Industries reported record consolidated revenue and EBITDA in both Q4 and FY26, driven by strong performance in its India aluminum and copper business. But the street seems unimpressed. Parth is joining in to tell us why. Parth, what's going on with Hindalco?
Yeah, it's really interesting that even after posting record numbers, the stock is currently in pressure. So this has a variety of reasons. Starting with the first one, the Novelis adjusted EBITDA has declined despite higher shipments and revenue growth. Now, this was mainly because of the Oswego fire disruptions that we saw happening in the last quarter. This has continued impacting the shipments, utilization levels, and profitability of Novelis. This has led to a decline in the consolidated EBITDA margins for Hindalco by 60 basis points year on year to reach 12.7%. The second reason is the heavy ongoing capex cycle which is going on for Hindalco, and the biggest trigger for that is their Bay Minette expansion project. This was their $5 billion worth of expansion, and the delayed ramp up of this project has not given meaningful earnings contribution to Hindalco. So this is the second thing which is going wrong for Hindalco. The third one is the revenue growth. The revenue growth which happened in Novelis has failed to translate into a proportionate EBITDA increase. Now this is because there is a weakness in the European market in their automotive sector. This has impacted the product mix and realizations for Novelis and henceforth for Hindalco as well. So these are the three main reasons why Hindalco is in pressure despite posting record numbers.
All right. Thanks so much for that part. In fact, earlier today we spoke to Satish Pai, who's the managing director at Hindalco Industries, and here's what he said about the outlook going forward.
No, I think that, look, the consol entity FY27, we should be having a good year because I think the India business will do well. LME prices are high. And the most positive for us will be Novelis will be coming back. So they started that comeback in Q4, but once Oswego is back up by June and Bay Minette gets commissioned. So the most positive thing for the consolidated Hindalco business will be the comeback of Novelis.
Okay, I'm going to talk about some broader market plays that are buzzing on the back of numbers. Pull up Shriram Properties, please. And it's interesting because right now this is a overall market play. Shriram Properties is what I'm talking about. That spike you're seeing coming off now, but 9.5% up. So a couple of things. Net profit up 64%, revenues up 57.1%. We can pull those numbers up. They were on our flashes. EBITDA up 80%. Margins also looking good from 11.9 to 13.7%. So Shriram Properties is one that's doing well. Earlier you had Ajmera also that has come in, and that also had a good set of numbers. We'll pull up Ajmera. Pull up Campus Activewear. Campus Activewear, also a good set of numbers. Broadly, the whole trend that you're seeing, okay, there you have Ajmera Realty. We'll like to see the stock as well. For Ajmera Realty, we'll finish that and then we'll go to Campus Active. So a lot of mid-cap companies that are showing a good set of numbers. On Campus, net profit up 26%, revenue up 12.3%, EBITDA has gone up about 14.5%, margins have also improved. So just...
For Ajmera, just on that point, it's very interesting because a few real estate companies, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm stealing Neeraj's favorite term. But Kolte Patil, you had horrible execution in the quarter gone by. Ajmera seems to have had a very good execution quarter. 431 crore rupees of revenue versus 151 crore rupees. And so despite a contraction in the margin, you've had a significant improvement, more than doubling of the EBITDA and the PAT number growing quite considerably as well.
Yep. So you have, the reason I bring this up and some of these companies is because of the kind of reaction coming in from the markets. Avinash, once we have this whole West Asia crisis behind us, and it's sooner or later, that's when we have to start looking at what Q4 and this last financial year really brought up. And would you say on balance, you've had quite a few mid-cap companies and small-cap companies with solid performance?
Yeah, exactly. I think, numbers definitely have been much better than what the street expected. And I think if this momentum is maintained, this kind of growth momentum continues even in the coming 1 or 2 quarters, then I think the valuations definitely look attractive. I think the reason why mid-caps were battered down was largely because this was considered to be a more volatile space, inconsistent performances. But I think there have been some few companies where the numbers have been pretty good. Apart from, Ajmera, you mentioned Campus. Campus has also done very well in the non-leather category. And I think these are commendable performances. So I think, the only thing which markets would like to know is what kind of growth momentum is this going to be sustained? Because Q1, everyone is expecting that some margin pressure could come in. But overall, I think if the volume growth is solid, then I think these margin pressures could be taken care. So definitely a place where some amount of money can be parked. I think hopefully once the sentiment improves, you're going to see a lot of buying coming in these mid-cap category kind of stocks.
Speaking of money being parked and where to deploy funds, we had Vijay Kedia in the studios earlier today for NDTV Profit's town hall. And there were several points that he made. Some of them, of course, with that inimical wit. He was talking about why should you buy a quick commerce company, and he compared it with buying a cutting chai, which is available for 20 rupees, and something that you would have to pay 400 rupees for at a five-star hotel. But here's where he's talking about his view on the energy sector, a space that he continues to remain positive on.
अभी फिलहाल मेरे को ऐसे लगता है कि जैसे मेरे दिमाग में ऐसे आता है जैसे बॉडी के लिए ऑक्सीजन जरूरी है, वैसे किसी भी कंट्री के लिए एनर्जी जरूरी है. तो मेरे को लगता है कि एनर्जी सेक्टर ऐसा है जो ऑक्सीजन है कंट्री के लिए, तो उसके बिना अपना गुजारा नहीं है. और हम उसमें ज़्यादातर हम इंपोर्ट पे डिपेंडेंट हैं उसमें. तो मैंने एक बार ट्वीट भी किया था कि जैसे प्रकृति ने सनलाइट दिया इंडिया को, ठीक है, गल्फ को उन्होंने क्रूड दिया, उन्होंने तेल दिया, उन्होंने उसका प्रॉस्पेरिटी कितना बड़ा उसका उन्होंने फ़ायदा उठाया. हम सनलाइट का फ़ायदा उठा नहीं पाए. हम उस तरीके से सोलर के अंदर में इस तरीके से हम वो नहीं कर पाए जो अभी हो रहा है, जो पिछले 2-3 सालों में हो रहा है. ये हम 20-30 साल पहले भी कर सकते थे. या रिन्यूएबल में कोई भी रिन्यूएबल, चाहे आप विंड एनर्जी लीजिए या कुछ भी लीजिए, वो हम कर नहीं पाए. चलिए ठीक है, जब आँख खुलती है तभी सवेरा होता है, ऐसा समझना चाहिए.
Okay, you can watch that entire town hall at 8 p.m. this evening, but let's talk about what else is happening. Government is readying for a strong CPSE, that's public sector enterprise offer for sale pipeline. The government may dilute stake in 3 to 4 of these public sector enterprises through an offer for sale in the first 2 quarters of the current financial year. Earlier today, our colleague Danish caught up with the IRFC CMD Manoj Kumar Dubey and spoke to him about it as well. Listening.
If we talk about the government's plan to come out with another OFS for IRFC in February, so we saw that there was very diluted response from the investors. What sort of appetite are you expecting this time?
So this is not a question for me, this is for Government of India. But to put facts on record, we sold around 1.77% of share at 104 price of the share, and it was very good response from the institutional side. Going forward, you see, I can assure about the good numbers from the company. As you saw the results of annual year FY26 that we published, my PAT grew by 8%. It crossed the 7,000 crore magical mark. We are doing well in all the aspects, and without any pipeline which was there for the last 2 years, we could sanction more than 75,000 crore asset in last year, and we could disperse more than 35,000 crore. So that momentum that we set in last FY in going forward, you see in the first quarter itself, we have signed an agreement of 13,500 crore, which all will be dispersed in Q1. So this kind of deals, which we were really working very hard from the last year, are showing the fruits. And going forward, rest be assured, if company is doing well, if its order book is very strong, if its parameters like net interest margin, everything growing fast, so government will have a good time to see if they really want to sell the shares, and the office should have good attractive participation also.
Earnings coming through thick and fast. The bottom is where you should keep an eye, and that's where the news breaks first. And we've got Nifty 50 and Nifty Bank at all-time highs heading into the last half hour of trade. We'll get you the top buy today, sell tomorrow calls and everything that you should watch out for as we're closing today's session. Stay tuned.
Investments in specialized investment fund involves relatively higher risk, including potential loss of capital, liquidity risk, and market volatility. Please read all investment strategy related documents carefully before making the investment decision.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information plates into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp takes on what to watch next. Editor's Cut, every Friday, 3:30 p.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Economy, business, world, technology. Noise filtered, numbers decoded. Insights that rewire your worldview. From governance to growth, we connect the dots. Your daily edge, your global advantage. India Business Report with me, Gauri Dwivedi, weeknights on NDTV Profit.
He has been tracking markets for over a decade, spots the trends before they hit the screen.
All right, welcome back. Let's pull up the Nifty before we move ahead. 24,000 has been conquered and we are managing to stay above. That's the important bit, right? Because a couple of attempts were made in the afternoon session of trade and now we're managing to stay up above the 300 mark. In this leg of India Market Close, we're speaking with Ajit Mishra. He's SVP Research, Religare Broking, and Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, Group Chairman at IndiTrade Capital. Welcome to both of you. Ajit, what's the next stop after 24,000 and would you wait and see if we sustain? Because remember, we also have monthly expiry this week. We also have a truncated market week because you have a market holiday on Thursday.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tamanna. So yes, Tamanna, we have like back-to-back expiries and finally, like we are seeing after this immense struggle that Nifty is crossing 24,000 mark barrier. It's the last hour of the trade and as of now, it seems like that we are going to sustain these levels thanks to banking index, which is showing noticeable resilience. And overall also, we are seeing that participation is broad-based. It's not that only the banking, but in fact, the other sectors are also participating on the rotational basis. So this gives us comfort that probably, yes, we are inching towards the next area of hurdle, which is close to around 24,400 mark, which is the 100 EMA, and then probably around the long-term averages around 24,600. So 23,800 now is the support zone, which was earlier acting as a resistance. So with that as a stop loss, one can continue to look for continuing with their long position. But instead of carrying the naked longs, the ideal approach is to go through spreads, options spreads instead of carrying the naked long position in the index.
Holding at the high point of the day, but specifically on the Nifty Bank, where well above the 55,200 mark at 2.2% higher, specific levels that you would watch out for on closing basis?
In fact, Alex, banking looks comparatively better. The private banking wages, in fact, the PSUs are also witnessing a bit of a traction now. We feel that the averages where both medium to long-term moving average converge close to around 56,000, 56,200. So which is roughly around 1,000 points away from the current area is what banking can test in this recovery. Downside, the 20 EMA mark close to around 54,400 is the new base for us. So it's basically banking looks comparatively better with decent upside potential from the current levels.
Sudeep Bandyopadhyay is joining us as well. Sudeep, good afternoon to you. And if you were sitting on a little bit of cash, which some people had suggested would be an appropriate strategy, should you deploy that with markets seeming to look at the start of the week positively, everything that came over the weekend positively?
Well, Alex, my strategy had been to slowly deploy cash, and I've been recommending people for the last few weeks, and I think we should stick to that strategy. It doesn't mean that the deal is done. It doesn't mean that we are out of the woods, but it definitely means that you should start slowly picking up fundamentally good quality stocks, because there is definitely traction and momentum in Indian capital market and Indian economy. We have our own set of challenges, which is beyond the West Asia crisis. Even after the dust has settled on the West Asia crisis, oil prices have come down. We have to live with a little bit of inflation. We have to think of the El Nino impact on monsoon and corporate performances, which we'll have to kind of navigate for the next couple of quarters, is what I believe. But I think it's a good time to start accumulating good quality stocks, because you can never predict the bottom or the peak.
Okay. Sudeep, we'll come back to you in a second. I just want to pull up the Suzlon numbers that you're seeing on your screen. Net profit down 6% at 1,114 crores. Revenues, though, are up 45% at 5,494 crores for the quarter. This is Q4 consolidated numbers coming in for Suzlon. Stock about 2% up right now. Let's pull up the intraday chart as well if we can. We have those two figures right now. We'll pull up the EBITDA figure also, because that's looking robust for Suzlon. So you're seeing that spike there. Sudeep, I wonder if this is something that you're tracking closely. Are you looking at Suzlon? It's a 39% uptick on EBITDA.
We have been looking at the entire wind and solar space. Obviously, alternate energy, green energy is getting a lot of boost all over the world, and particularly the West Asia crisis has opened new avenues. Suzlon, of course, is a turnaround story. There are challenges which are inherent to wind energy projects and wind energy assets, but I think Suzlon has performed exceedingly well. One can look at Suzlon, but right now may not be the time, because the price has really shot up post the numbers came up. But keep it in the radar and pick up at an appropriate time.
You know, one of the buzzers today has been HFCL. And it's not just today, it's been a stock that has gained quite considerably. So pull up the, of course, it's at upper circuit even as we speak, but pull up the 3-month or the year-to-date chart for HFCL, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's up as much as 132% in 3 months. But why is it buzzing in trade today? Let's go across to Somit to find out and put a spotlight on the stock. Somit?
Well, yes, the stock has hit an all-time high. In fact, since the start of April till now, the stock is up nearly 140% in trade. So there are multiple factors what has led to this kind of a move in the share price of HFCL. Firstly, the strong fourth quarter numbers, the revenue, EBITDA, net profit on a sequential basis were up anywhere between 37 to 81%. Order book stood at close to 21,200 crore rupees, which is nearly 4 times its FY26 revenue, which gives a good revenue visibility for the company. And the growth was supported purely on the back of volume and increase in prices of optical fiber cable. Moreover, the management has also given a strong guidance. They are looking at 20 to 25% revenue growth, and they have also given a long-term revenue guidance of 10,000 crore rupees over the next 4 to 5 years, as against 4,950 crore revenue that they generated in FY26. Now, for margin expansion, they are looking at 3 to 4 percentage points of margin expansion in FY27 alone, and they are also targeting more revenue coming in from the export market going forward. Apart from that, what are the other factors that have aided the share price move for HFCL? Firstly, the company has clearly shifted towards more private orders from government orders earlier, which has also led to a positive sentiment in the market. Also, the company is diversifying towards defense orders now, which also increases the total addressable market for the company. And apart from that, when it comes to the telecom business or the fiber business of the company, data center, 5G, last mile fiber connectivity, all of these factors have led to higher demand coming in for the company for the optical fiber business. And recently the company had also won an order of around 10,000 crore rupees for optical fiber cable. And the company has done fund infusion not once but twice in the last 6 months, and this will support the future capital expenditure requirement and also the debt concerns that are there for HFCL. So these are broadly the factors what have led to this move in the share prices of HFCL. But there are some concerns as well. Now OFC prices, now they are on an uptrend and hence the company has been benefiting. But if there is a decline that comes in, then that could be the biggest risk for HFCL. Also the global competition for fiber is too intense. So if there is some changes or more capacity addition coming in from a global player, that could also be negative for the counter, and any delay in defense related approvals could also be negative. Now if you look at the analyst view, Arihant has a target price of 227 which suggests an upside of 39% from the current market price, while Sunidhi Securities on the other hand has a target price of 155 which suggests a downside of around 5%. Valuations are also now on the expensive side post the up move that we have seen in the last couple of months. The 12-month forward valuation stands at close to 21.6 times, that is the EV to EBITDA valuation I'm talking about, while the 5-year average was close to 15 times. So expensive valuation is something that we should keep an eye out for when it comes to HFCL.
Got it. All right. Thanks so much, Somit, for that. The stock is up at about as much as 10%. By the way, Suzlon doing okay. It's up over 1% and seemingly on the back of not just revenues, but also it's on the back of net volumes, which has seen a pretty substantial jump. 830 megawatts is what they managed in the quarter gone by, compared with 617 in the sequential quarter, that is Q3, and 573 megawatts in the year-ago quarter. But let's go to the stock of the day, and this is the top performer on the Nifty 50, and quite a few buzzing, but Eicher Motors stands out for good reason, because it had good volumes, the revenue uptick was substantial, there was a margin improvement as well. Let's go across to Puneet to tell you why this is the stock of the day. Puneet?
Well, thank you for that. It's not just good results, it's also what's expected in FY27. They have all the right triggers for now. And when you look at the key takeaways from the results, ones, of course, that the numbers have beaten Q4 estimates. There was a good growth of 12% in terms of revenues, but the overall revenue growth has come in at 16%. So other key factors also contributed well or revenue growth. When you look at the VECV, that as well as Royal Enfield has seen capex announcements over the last 2 quarters, which have been substantial. So you're seeing that impact for the forward momentum to continue. And the fourth key one of demand momentum expected to be good in FY27 as well. But when you look at the last 2 quarters, for a size of Eicher Motors, they've announced a 4,000 crore capex between Q3 and Q4. The first key one being 953 crores to increase capex in the existing Chennai plant for Royal Enfield. They've also announced land parcels in Andhra Pradesh, 2,500 crores that will be over and above the 20 lakh volume capacity that will be done in Chennai, and hence a very important announcement by the company, the first plant outside Chennai. The third one will be their new joint venture announced in this quarter of 750 crore capex, which will be invested in the joint venture with Volvo on the financial arm side as well. And finally, what you see as the capacity going from 1.4 to 1.6 million just in the next 1 month, and then incrementally to 2 million by Q2 of FY28. I also want to highlight 3 key very important things that the management has said. First will be that the replacement cycle is yet to kick in. What this means is someone who bought Royal Enfield 5 to 6 years ago has still not replaced it. So that demand is yet to come in FY27. Very importantly, on inventory days, just 1 week of inventory that they have, both for what they've produced as well as for the dealers. So capacity is a real constraint, and hence the huge capex announced by the company. And the third important one on new launches, they already have the C6 Flying Flea on the roads, S6 expected to come in this year, Bullet 650 will be a major name, as well as more announcements expected in FY27. And finally, we've picked 3 brokerages that have either raised prices or upgraded the stock today as well. First one is HSBC 8,200, where they mentioned that they believe that the strong Q4 was led by better average selling prices, but they're confident, and so is the management, on demand outlook. UBS has actually upgraded the stock to a buy today, and with a target price of 8,550, they believe that the current street consensus estimates underappreciates the inventory filling model, which will be a big demand booster for the company. And finally, CLSA with an outperform rating, of course, with 7651. Target price has been raised as well, and they feel Q4 beat expectations largely on estimates as well. Finally, in terms of valuation, if we can pull that chart up versus peers as well as we highlight, stocks at 28 times. There's been correction on TVS, hence now slip below 30. But despite the momentum, there's a lot to watch out for the company in the next year itself.
Got it.
Okay, Eicher, definitely exciting. Sudeep, you like this company and on terms of valuations as well, going strong.
Oh, absolutely, Tamanna. I've been liking this company for a very long time. Apart from whatever reasons were cited, I will add a couple of more. One is the currency depreciation definitely helps the company because they have a significant export business, and every bit of depreciation straight away helps the bottom line. The raw material costs haven't gone up that much, so I think the margin, that's why we did see the margin improvement. Also, I think the new model launches will help the company take the business forward in a meaningful way, and volumes will keep moving up. Overall, the capacity expansion indicates towards the demand expectation. So again, that's good from an investor's point of view. Valuation, yes, it was never cheap. It will not be cheap, but it's not over expensive as well. So from a long-term point of view, I think it's a great investment.
Okay, all right. Eicher Motors on the charts, Ajit, while we're at it, 7,414 and 6% higher. Would you venture out right now and buy?
So Alex, after this sharp move today, I would rather wait and let the stock stabilize, because last, in two occasions, around 7,500 mark, the stock witnessed a bit of a consolidation in profit taking also and retraced towards its long-term averages. So once, let's say, we surpass this hurdle of 7,500, then, or maybe a dip or consolidation within this 7,300 to 7,500 zone, is a good area to look to accumulate. Once we surpass this level, then we are set for the new record highs before, we take a breather around 7,800 mark or 79 mark. So overall, the texture looks good, but for fresh buying, one should wait.
On the technicals, I just want to pull up a few stocks from the broader markets that are doing incredibly well. We've already spoken about HFCL, but there's Titagarh that is buzzing and has been buzzing since morning. This is on account of the higher spend that is anticipated to come through. Quite a large amount of money. Amara Raja Batteries is up as much as 7.3%. Jupiter Wagons moving for the same reason that Titagarh is moving. And you have a few of these stocks in the railway wagon space that are up and about on account of the expectation of a higher spend. Maharashtra Scooters is up and about 7.2%. Adani Power is up and about, so is Adani Enterprises. You saw that for the benchmark Nifty 50. Engineers India is up as much as 6%. And the entire PSU banking pack, led forward by Union Bank of India, is doing particularly well. So from the list of stocks that I have just spoken about, Ajit, which of them would you venture out and buy?
So Alex, the Adani group of stocks still looks promising after this sharp up move also, because we were seeing a bit of a consolidation time-wise correction from last 4-5 trading session. And as a disclosure, we have recommended to our clients Adani Power in the morning, and I guess we are still holding that position. Adani Enterprise is another stock from that list wherein we see potential of further up move. Means after this 4-5 days of tight range consolidation around 2750 mark, the stock is set for the next leg of the up move. So we are eyeing close to around 3200 mark in the near future. With stop at 2700, one can accumulate Adani Enterprise stock. And then apart from that, yes, we are seeing recovery in the railway related counters, but the trend is still down. So I would rather suggest to utilize this recovery to reduce your position, especially if the view is short term and you are stuck at the higher levels.
Okay, Jupiter Wagons is exciting. So is Premier Explosives, another one which is buzzing right now. We also have the entire PSU bank, which is looking very, very exciting right now. What would be, Ajit, your top PSU bank pick?
Tamanna, based on the recent price action, Union Bank did comparatively well during the declining phase also, means it could manage to hold its long-term averages. And today also during the rebound, we are seeing that stock is up roughly around 5%. and set to break the next hurdle at around 170 mark also. So expect this momentum to further carry once, let's say, we cross this 170 barrier, and close to around 180.85 is something that stock might test. So with stop at 160, one can definitely look to accumulate Union Bank at current levels.
Got it. All right, Gurmeet Chadda, Managing Partner and CIO, Complete Circle, joins us on the phone line. Gurmeet, thanks so much for taking the time. Nifty 50 comfortably above 24,000 and holding at this point, 24,030. What's the view? Because the market seems to be sensing that the worst may just be over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, both the rupee, and our markets have been slightly on the oversold zone for a while. I think today's move also probably would have seen some short covering. If you see the movement in select large caps which have been under pressure, I think technical guys would tell you better, but 24,000 call option sellers, would have to cover. Also, I think the broader market breadth has been one savior because of earnings being better, whether those are the energy space, defense also because of ordering activity picking up, guidance being good, first from Solar, then from BEL, and then we saw the host of other names. So I think the earning growth in mid and small cap is one part of the market which has been a little heartening. But I sense if this deal really goes through, we should not really jump the gun. But if there is something really happens over this week, then I think probably you will see some more short coming.
Gurmeet, what do you think is the underlying excitement? I know it's on the face of it, very simple to say that yes, Brent finally under 100. You are seeing maybe the signs of a US-Iran agreement come to fore. But we've seen this playbook before and it hasn't really lasted. What feels different this time to you?
No, I think one thing which is good for India is that A, the crude has cooled off, and second, we have done almost 4 price hikes now. So the one reason rupee was also falling other than foreign outflows was, the stress on the CAD. And, OMC is losing, a few thousand crores every day. Now, that gap is getting bridged, so I think fiscal health is getting a little better. Earnings have been a little good, and as I said, there's some bit of short covering, so you should not get, you should not celebrate till there is a deal. And I think India has very badly underperformed. Been in markets for so long, not seen India underperforming MSCI Emerging Market Index by more than 50%. So one thing which has always happens in market is the reversion to mean. And I think all this plays out. Oil cools off, deal happen, fiscal situation improves. I think some mean reversion will happen. And also if you see, just 15, 20 stocks in the world have $30, $40 trillion riding on them. I think some cool off in AI also eventually, if that happens, and provided the deal happens, I think would be some good news for India.
Okay, Gurmeet, specifically on beaten down sectors today, relatively speaking, the last couple of weeks have been not so good for the Nifty Bank and for the PSU banks. They're bouncing back today. Any reason that you would suggest that an investor should now venture out and pick selectively?
No, absolutely. And, valuations are very reasonable. The entire bank Nifty is, probably 12, 13 times earnings, less than 2 book. Some of the private banks are less than 2 book, including HDFC, Axis. ICICI has been pretty stagnant. And I think there's a lot of FDI coming in some of the tier 2 banks like Federal, RBL. There's a lot of interest. I've been speaking to a lot of PE funds. Housing finance is one space which I think there's a lot of catch-up due. Look at a Bajaj Housing Finance and some of the PSU names there. I think it has corrected significantly and valuations have become reasonable. And in this pocket, you will see the yields improving and credit costs also coming off. So operating metrics improving, flows getting hopefully better. I think this pocket looks good.
Gurmeet, what would be your war reversal plays? A lot of stocks beaten down. No, just broadly defining it. A lot of stocks beaten down because when crude at 100 is a pain point. There's a hit on consumption. There's a hit for input costs. West Asia crisis means freight was not moving. And there were the big losers there. What are the prime candidates for a reversal?
I think auto is one pocket where earnings have been good and correction has been severe. Look at the movement today in Sandhar Technology. One good set of numbers. Stock is up some, like last 2 days, I think 20-25%. So there is earning momentum there, and a war reversal would mean softening of even commodity, logistics, better supply chains. I think then auto and auto ranks, I think, are the number one play. I think second could be fertilizers. And third could be, some of the packaging firms, because again, crude derivative has played a very big role in, the packaging costs going up. So these three, in my view, and of course, banking, because as I said, that's indirectly linked to it. So I think these would be my play in case, I hope that, things cool off.
Okay, Gurmeet, banking, auto in focus. Thank you so much for that. I just want to, as we're getting into the closing bell, I just want to pull up Poly Medicure and its numbers, 5% down on that stock. This has become a market which punishes you for numbers which are below expectations and really, really rewards you if the numbers are good. As far as Poly Medicure is concerned, net profit down 28%. Revenues have gone up 21.3% at 535 crores. But look at that intraday chart, about 5% down right now. EBITDA has also come down about 7.5%. So you've seen a bit of a dip there on a Poly Medicure. And that's across the board, isn't it, Alex? Even as we get into the closing, that you've had. Gurmeet spoke about Sandhar Tech, but the way that you've had a response coming into some of the results that have been good has been phenomenal today.
Oh, absolutely. And it's across the board. It's not just the mid and small caps where we've seen very substantial moves, because obviously the market capitalization, the float will determine the kind of outsized move on either side. But an Eicher Motor is moving up as much as 6% in trade on the back of a substantial or a very good performance, and also the outlook being positive is very significant. Pull up the heat map for the Nifty 50 as we draw to a close, and just about 10 seconds to go for the closing, and we are ending very close to the high point of the day. So this is heartening to see. In fact, if anything, we've climbed a little further in the last few minutes of trade, and we're ending at 24,050 or very close to that mark, 1.4% higher. For me, the Nifty Bank, the move there is something to keep a very close eye on, because here too we're ending very close to the high point of the day, 2.5% higher. The broader markets are looking good. The mid-cap index ending with gains of 0.9%. The small-cap index up about 1.2% or thereabouts. Pull up the heat map for the Nifty 50 and you have 40 stocks out of 50 that have gained ground. And the top gainers are Eicher Motors, Adani Enterprises, Bajaj Finance, Tata Motors, Larsen & Toubro. But the telling sign there, the big movers will be showcased on the contributors chart, because you will see an HDFC Bank rank very highly over there, ICICI Bank, Larsen & Toubro and State Bank of India. 3 out of the 4 top contributors are banks, State Bank of India and the PSU Banking Pack among them. Pull up the PSU Banking Pack constituents and you will see a Bank of India, Union Bank of India move up very substantially, Canara Bank up and about. In fact, Central Bank is the only one that ends more or less flat, but a State Bank of India gaining about 2.4% and Bank of Baroda as well moving higher, 3.7% higher for PNB as well.
Okay, just want to go to what has really worked today, and I want to pull up the sectoral heat map if we can before we move ahead. The Nifty PSU Bank Index about 3% up, and that really is the big winner of the day. You know what is marked about the markets today, Alex, is the fact that apart from Nifty FMCG, everything is in the green. This has been completely broad-based, and you have the financials which are ruling the roost. Also the fact that you've closed near the day's high. Of course, you've had some hits and some misses over there, and because we just spoke about Poly Medicure before the markets close, I want to go to Varsha, who's joining us with the first cut of what's happened with Poly Medicure. Varsha, go ahead.
Well, you know, overall, if you see, Tamanna, the revenue, we are seeing the growth in revenue, but it's EBITDA and net profit where the problem lies, and the EBITDA degrowth or the decrease in margin that you're seeing, the EBITDA margin is led by the higher other expenses, number one, and of course the operating deleverage that the company is seeing. Now, onto the net profit, if you see, net profit is also down, 28%. Now, because of the higher interest costs and higher other expenses, and hence we are seeing, and of course the lower other income has also impacted net profit. So all of this contribution, operating deleverage, other expenses, and higher interest costs has led to the pressure when it comes to bottom line. But altogether, revenue was good, but we also need to see how management is expanding when it comes to CDMO and when it comes to the dialyzer business as well. And the key commentary for all of these areas is which investors should monitor.
Okay. So that's why Polymedicure is not ended too well. I want to see where Polymedicure has ended, about 5% down. You've seen that sharp, dip there. But that's not been the case for companies that are in the business of building materials. Stocks like Greenlam, Century Ply, and Green Panel are surging in Green Ply are surging in trade today. Strong revenue and margin growth in Q4, among other factors, are some of the reasons. Puneet joining in with more details.
Well, thank you for that. It's definitely, across companies that we've seen in the laminates as well as in the plywood space as well. And as you rightly said, Greenlam, Green Panel, Century Ply, all have done well today in today's trading session. What's working is, the strong revenue growth that's been reported for the first time in essentially this year, as well as what we've seen a painful FY25 for these companies. So they're starting to see action just at the fag end of FY26. Century Plyboards reported 24% revenue growth, Greenlam at 25%, Green Panel at a 16% revenue growth, and we're still awaiting some more results in the sector. We've also seen commentary also being very strong. So I just want to pick out Greenlam because Green Panel specifically because the con call happened just a few days ago where they had said that they showed double-digit growth in volume, especially in the MDF segment where in the same time last year you had new standards coming into the country under BIS and hence local players getting a big boost. Expecting FY27 to also show double-digit growth rate as well, they had said. And Anand Rathi had a very strong view on the stock as well, where they mentioned that expecting the company's earning to show sharp growth over the next 3 years itself, and they had a target price of 320. Finally, what to watch out for, because you're awaiting con call for Century Ply as well as from what we are seeing in Greenlam as well, and you'll watch out for raw material prices as well as what's the key commentary there as well. You also have to see on guidance of volume versus value growth, but it's been a strong quarter for all these companies, and the next leg of growth could be very key in FY27 for the building material space.
Okay. Thanks so much, Puneet, for that. And those stocks buzzing in trade today. But Tamanna, one of the factors that has been playing, I think, as a tailwind, at least over the last couple of sessions, is the clawing back of a little bit of ground for the currency, right? We've plumbed those levels and we come back just a tad bit, even in trade today.
I think the reason is because you have now a very cogent or a very clear view of what could happen. And there's a bit of give and take. If you look at what news wires are putting out, and of course, you don't actually see the agreement. You don't know what's happening between between Iran and the United States. But part of the draft agreement that is being reported, Alex, is that instead of a toll that Iran wants to levy on the Strait of Hormuz, they will levy a fee. So maybe they'll call it something else, and this could be for a variety of reasons. But a version which makes it palatable to the US and the rest of the world, which doesn't display that Iran got its way in any form or fashion. Iran will also have a bit of a give and take. But for the first time, it seems like there could be some kind of movement ahead. 95.23 for the rupee is one of the better levels that we have seen in days. Also, think about what's happening with the fourth time of a fuel hike since this started, and since the whole series
over
of fuel
7 rupees
hikes have started, about 7 rupees. The market is looking at it positively because it needs to come through, and this is something that the finance minister has also talked about. She said that she signaled a possible 1 lakh crore rupee hit in FY27 after excise cuts on petrol and diesel. Listen in.
To shield citizens, therefore, and businesses from the steep rise in global crude prices, central excise duty on petrol and diesel was reduced by 10 rupees per litre. The government is estimated to take a revenue impact of over 1 lakh crore on this one score in the year 26-27 because of this one decision. So the burden for a considerable period because of that reduction in excise duty had been taken away from the shoulders of the common people because government has foregone or taken the burden of 1 lakh crore rupees on its shoulders. To ensure domestic availability of fuel, export duty or cess was imposed on exports of petrol, diesel, and aviation turbine fuel. So we're not allowing export because it's earning foreign exchange. without attending to the domestic market's needs. In order to ensure that, we have imposed a duty on exports. This was done so that domestic consumers, transporters, airlines, and businesses get supply stability to protect manufacturing supply chains. Customs duty exemption was granted on specified critical petrochemical products till June 2026, 30th June 2026. This supports sector such as plastic.
Okay. As we wrap up the show today, the fact is that after that fourth fuel hike, OMCs, that's oil marketing companies, have ended well in trade. Just pull up, before we wrap up, what BPCL, HPCL and IOC have done, all between 3 and 4.5% up. But what was interesting, Alex, was Vijay Kedia's comments in the town hall today. And I think that question came from Samit to him on what he thinks about OMCs.
Yeah, because he mentioned that he's positive on energy, and Samit, I think, asked a pretty good question, which is that OMCs have been beaten down for obvious reasons. Are you looking at those as your energy play, or are you looking at your wind energy and solar? And here's what he had to say. Listen it.
वो मालूम नहीं, वो कभी पैसा कमा के देता नहीं है, कभी कभार आपको दे देता है। वो गवर्नमेंट का उसमें इतना कंट्रोल रहता है उनके अंदर में, तो वो तो मैं तो उसमें इन्वेस्ट नहीं करूंगा। वो एक बार पहले किया था टेम्परेरी थोड़े दिन के लिए। उसके अलावा मेरे को लगता हो सकता है कमोडिटीज़ का जो साइकिल जो है ना, वो जैसा हम सुनते हैं वो पूरा टर्न अराउंड हुआ है। जैसे चाहे वो एल्यूमिनियम हो, कॉपर हो, जिंक हो, स्टील हो, वॉट एवर इट इज़, ये कमोडिटी साइकिल जब चलता है तो 3, 4, 5 साल चलता है और कमोडिटी बहुत तेज़ी से आगे बढ़ती है। लेकिन उसके अंदर में निकलना भी पड़ता है उसके अंदर में। और इसके कमोडिटी में एक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात होती है, ये जब लेना चाहिए जब हाईएस्ट पी पे मिलता हो, और जब बेचना चाहिए जब लोवेस्ट पी का भाव होता हो। इसमें उल्टा साइकिल चलता है।
Okay, watch that entire town hall at 8 p.m. this evening. That's all the time we have on India Market Close. From Alex, me and the team that put the show together, thank you so much for watching. Market Express up next.
Investments in specialized investment fund involves relatively higher risk, including potential loss of capital, liquidity risk, and market volatility. Please read all investment strategy related documents carefully before making the investment decision.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversation.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information blitz into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp
Hello, and you're watching Market Express, and I'm Himakshi Bahugna. Let's get straight into the show and see how the markets have really fared today. So viewers, optimism is back on the Lal Street and the bulls are charging hard. Nifty reclaims 24,000 levels, Sensex surges 1,000 points. Deal hopes are clearly back in the driver's seat. Broader markets have mirrored the benchmarks today. And talking about the sectors, so most of the sectors have ended the day in green, barring the FMCG. PSU banks, financial services and the auto have led the gains. And now let's look at rupee. So it is strengthening, hitting a 2-week high against the dollar. The move is driven by easing the global tensions and also a sharp drop in the crude prices, which is easing pressure on India's import bill. Support from the RBI and improved market sentiment are also helping the currency recover after the recent record lows. There's fresh signals from Washington and Tehran have raised hopes of a possible breakthrough on the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and this is triggering a sharp fall in the global crude prices. And while traders are unwinding part of the geopolitical risk premium built into oil markets, key disagreements over sanctions and also Iran's nuclear program continue to keep the markets on edge. India's state-run oil companies have raised petrol and diesel prices for the 4th time in just 11 days as surging crude costs and also the West Asia conflict continue to squeeze their margins. And after absorbing heavy losses for 4 days, OMCs are now passing part of that burden to the consumers through steady fuel price hikes and also in a clear sign that global energy volatility is beginning to hit the Indian households again. Now let's look at key stocks. First up, we have Hindalco. So it may have delivered, record revenues and also EBITDA for the year, but underneath the headline growth, several pressure points continue emerging. And profitability has remained, it has been impacted by the weakness at Novelis, where the Oswego disruption, softer European automotive demand, and also an ongoing heavy capex cycle weighed on the margins as well as the cash flow improvement. Investors are also closely watching when the Bay Minette project begins making, a meaningful earnings contribution to the company. Next, Counter in focuses Divi's Labs, which has reported an operationally stable quarter with growth driven largely by the custom synthesis business. However, rising input costs weighed on margins even as lower taxes and also higher other income has supported the profitability, and the company continues betting on peptides and even contrast media for future growth. Next counter to look at is Rainbow Children's, which has delivered a strong quarterly performance, and this has been helped by resilient occupancy trends, healthy realization growth, and also better than expected margins. While occupancy pressures, from new hospital additions persisted, mature hospitals continued improving steadily, also reinforcing confidence that the core healthcare business remains firmly on track. Next counter to look at is Coalty Developers, which has reported a weak quarter on the surface with revenue and profitability sharply impacted by one-time adjustments. But resilient collections and also improving realization suggest underlying demand in the housing market. It remains stable despite headline weakness. Next counter to look at is Texmaco Rail and Engineering, which has secured a fresh order from Vedanta Aluminium for the supply of alumina wagons and also brake vans. And the contract, valued at nearly 29 crores, is expected to be executed within 6 months and also further strengthens the company's railway equipment order pipeline at a time when the industrial freight and also logistic investments continue witnessing steady momentum. Your state-run construction major NBCC has secured fresh work orders worth over 42 crores, including an Indian bank office project in Amravati and also infrastructure development work for Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti. So the latest wins further strengthen NBCC's government-focused order pipeline and also reinforce its strong positioning in the public sector infrastructure execution, even as the centre continues accelerating spending across housing, urban development and also institutional projects. Sterlite Technologies has received a major boost to its global business ambitions after its subsidiary secured a multi-year product award with a potential contract value of nearly $1.1 billion. Now, the deal involves the supply of optical connectivity products and is also expected to significantly strengthen the long-term revenue visibility for the company. Now, the award also highlights rising global demand for high-speed digital infrastructure as telecom operators and data center players continue accelerating network expansion and also fiber connectivity investments worldwide. Viewers, next counter to look at is HPL Engineering, which has said that quarterly profitability came under pressure due to the mix of Coforge railway contracts and also additional cost provisions taken during the period. Now, despite the near-term impact, management remains optimistic on the broader outlook and also expects FY27 sales and profitability to improve significantly as railway execution gathers pace and also order opportunities continue expanding. Next counter to look at is Park MediWorld, which is on the move and the stock is reacting. The company has announced the acquisition of Medicity Hospital in Uttarakhand in a 177 crores all-cash deal, marking a significant push into undeserved northern markets. This move strengthens its regional footprint even as the focus clearly shifts towards inorganic expansion. Medicity Hospital itself brings strong operating momentum with steady double-digit growth in recent years, adding to Park Medi's growth visibility. With this deal, the company is not just adding capacity, it's also sharpening its strategy of scaling through targeted acquisitions in high-potential geographies. Next counter to look at is Premier Explosive, which has surged 20% and has also hit a fresh 52-week high amid strong buying interest in the defense and explosive segment. The rally comes as investor sentiment remains positive around defense manufacturing and also ammunition-related companies. Market participants are tracking order inflows, execution visibility, and government focus on domestic defense production. The sharp move also reflects continued momentum in the defense-linked mid-cap stocks. Here's next counter is GAIL India. So the shares have surged after its fourth quarter numbers. The earnings are mixed, but the street is focusing on strong outlook and also improving margins. Brokerages remain positive and are seeing a meaningful upside from the current levels. And the stock responds sharply with investors betting on the growth momentum ahead. In fact, LTM is expanding its global footprint with the acquisition of Randstad's technology and also consulting businesses in a 160 million euro deal. The transaction is expected to strengthen LTM's capabilities in digital and consulting services while also widening its international presence. The move comes as companies continue to scale up their tech-focused offerings amid rising demand for transformation services. Next key counter is Sun Pharma. So the shares of the company have slipped after its fourth quarter numbers. Now the results show healthy growth, but margins remain under pressure and miss the street expectations. Now analysts are turning cautious in the near term, citing softer, US business and also rising cost. And even as long-term views stay positive, the immediate outlook looks measured, and the stock is reacting with mild weakness after the earnings print. And viewers, extreme heat is now hitting the India's factory floors very hard. So rising temperatures are pushing up power bills and even the cooling costs, even as worker productivity has taken a hit. Now small and medium businesses are feeling the strain the most with limited capacity to adapt. The result is a widening divide between large factories and also the MSMEs. Next stock to look at is Eicher Motors. The shares are rallying after the company posted strong fourth quarter results, boosting the investor confidence. The automaker has reported healthy earnings growth, and this has been supported by steady demand and also improved operating performance. The upbeat numbers are driving fresh buying interest, with the stock climbing sharply in trade. And here's a strong warning from the Vatican on artificial intelligence. In the first major document, Pope Leo has urged governments to really slow down the AI development, cautioning that the technology could really spread misinformation, fuel conflict, and even push the world towards a prolonged instability. Now, in the encyclical titled, Magnifica Humanitas, the first American Pope calls for stricter global oversight, including robust legal frameworks. Now, independent regulation and also greater political accountability is warned against leaving AI power concentrated in private hands, and also stressing the need to protect the workers, safeguard children, and also ensure technology, really serves to humanity and not the other way around. And as the global AI race accelerates, the Vatican is clearly stepping in with a call for caution and also control. Viewers, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has struck a confident note on the economy amid global tensions. Speaking at SIDBI's 37th Foundation Day, she said that India remains positive and even resilient despite the ongoing West Asian conflict, also cautioning against any sort of pessimistic narrative that fuels fear-mongering. And she's emphasized that economic fundamentals remain pretty strong, with GST collections continuing to, really reflecting robust activity even after rate rationalization. In fact, gross GST collections have crossed 22 lakh crores in FY26 with healthy annual growth. So this is signaling sustained demand momentum. The message from the finance minister is very clear that policy support and strong domestic trends are really helping India navigate the global uncertainty with confidence. And India's defense manufacturing push could see a major boost, with DRDO likely to bring private players into the production of the Astra air-to-air missile system. Now, the move is aimed at increasing manufacturing capacity and also speeding up deployment of the indigenous weapon platform. It also signals deeper private sector participation in India's defense ecosystem. Viewers, now let's look at some national news. The Supreme Court has stepped in on the Twesha Sharma death case, ordering a CBI probe amid growing concerns over the investigation. Hearing a suo motu matter, the top court has flagged alleged procedural lapses and also institutional bias and said that the probe must remain fair and impartial. The Solicitor General has informed the court that the CBI will take over the case immediately, with administrative steps expected to be completed today. Importantly, the court also urged the media to exercise restraint, warning against amplifying statements from either victims or the accused families during the ongoing investigation. And the case has drawn nationwide attention, with serious questions being raised over delays, forensic inconsistencies, and even the handling of the evidence in the initial probe. And a major security scare in Bengaluru has put VIP protection protocols in focus. 6 police personnel have been suspended after gelatin sticks were found near Prime Minister Modi's convoy route during his May 10 visit. Now, the explosive material was detected during routine security sanitization checks ahead of the Prime Minister's arrival. And officials are saying that 2 gelatin sticks were found on a footpath on the city's outskirts, roughly about 3 kilometers from the main venue. And this incident has triggered an inquiry into a possible security lapse, with agencies now probing how explosive material reached a high security zone in the very first place. And a major policy move in Assam is set to trigger a wider debate on personal laws. The state government has tabled the Uniform Civil Code Bill 2026 in the Assembly, proposing a ban on polygamy and also mandatory registration of live-in relationships. Now, the bill, introduced by Parliamentary Affairs Minister Atul Bora on behalf of Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, aims to simplify and unify laws governing marriage, divorce, succession, and even live-in relationships. While the government pitches it as a reform towards legal clarity and protection, opposition parties have strongly objected, demanding wider consultation before any such legislation is taken forward. Now, the bill is expected to come up for discussion on May 27, setting the stage for a heated political showdown in the Assembly. And here's a high-stakes diplomatic visit already in motion. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in India on his first official trip after wrapping up talks in Sweden. And also the visit is now shifting focus back to the New Delhi. And having already covered Delhi engagements and also cultural stops in Agra and Jaipur, Rubio is now headed into the final leg, where strategic conversations will take center stage. At the heart of the visit, energy, security, defense ties, and even trade, all against the backdrop of the ongoing tensions in West Asia impacting the global markets. With India-US ties deepening and even the Quad meeting ahead, this visit is not just symbolic, but it's about aligning strategies in an increasingly uncertain world. And the Quad foreign ministers are meeting in New Delhi today, just days after the Trump-Xi summit. And the timing is crucial as the US signals a softer approach to China. And India, the US, Japan, and Australia are now looking to keep the grouping relevant, with a focus on security, supply chains, and even stability in the Indo-Pacific. The meet also underlines India's growing role at the center of global diplomacy. And viewers, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Market Express. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit for more news and updates.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information plates into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp takes on what to watch next. Editor's Cut, every Friday, 3:30 p.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Economy, business, world, technology. Noise filtered, numbers decoded. Insights that rewire your worldview. From governance to growth, we connect the dots. Your daily edge, your global advantage. India Business Reports with me, Gauri Dwivedi, weeknights on NDTV Profit.
He has been tracking markets for over a decade, spots the trends before they hit the screen. And he is now bringing his analysis to the show that the market watches. Watch Sharad Dubey on Know Your Company, a show that puts the most traded stocks under the scanner. We dissect the company so that you, the investor, don't have to. Get the management to answer questions relevant to you. Watch Know Your Company.
Bulls lead the charge on the Wall Street today as Nifty ends above 24,000 after 11 trading sessions. While the benchmarks gain over 1%, volatility index slips 6% in the red. Banking cohort attracts most attention, with Bank Nifty outperforming the benchmark. The rupee extended gains and ends at two-week high of 95 rupees 24 paise against the dollar, amid rising equities and likely RBI intervention. The currency is now up for the third straight session. Oil prices fall over 5% as hopes of a US-Iran deal eased fears around Hormuz supply disruptions. Though nuclear remains the key sticking point, Brent crude hovering around $97 a barrel today. OMC's rally after fuel prices hiked for the fourth time within 12 days, with the latest hike of over 2 rupees. Petrol prices have crossed 100 rupees per litre in Delhi. Petroleum Minister officials say OMC under recovery is cooled from 1,000 crore rupees to less than 600 crores.
These times when there is need for support.
That's right. I mean, their calculation go by a very clear formulation. And a committee had looked into it, and based on that, they do their annual calculation and give the dividend to the government. And it is on that basis it has come. And in fact, there are observers who would say, no, they probably could have given you a little more, but they've made additional provision. I fully trust RBI in having made their calculation and given the dividend that they have given. And 1 minute. So I think it has come per their established protocols.
जो छोटे निवेशक है, रिटेल निवेशक है, वो काफी देश के अंदर चिंतित है क्योंकि पिछले एक साल के अंदर शेयर मार्केट ने नेगेटिव रिटर्न दिया है और ये वेस्ट एशिया क्राइसिस और टैरिफ से भी पहले देखा जा रहा था क्योंकि पिछले 2 साल के अंदर एफपीआईज के द्वारा रिकॉर्ड निकासी की गई है भारतीय बाजारों से। तो जो कई सारे दिग्गज लोग हैं उनका यह मानना है कि सरकार को टैक्स सिस्टम पे थोड़ा विचार करना चाहिए, जो एलटीसीजी है या और बाकी जो टैक्स लगाया जाता है उस पर एक बार सुनना चाहिए। तो क्या गवर्नमेंट तैयार है निवेशकों की बात को सुनने के लिए, बड़े निवेशकों की बात को सुनने, क्योंकि एफआईआई बड़ी संख्या में पैसा निकाल रहे हैं और जो मैडम हमने देखा था कि कोविड के बाद जो करीब 4 करोड़ निवेशक थे, डीमेट अकाउंट थे, वो 18 करोड़ हो गए, लेकिन अब उनका भी भरोसा कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा बहुत हिल रहा है।
मैं किसी भी on this issue and on any other issue, we are always ready to hear, listen to people. We'll take their inputs.
Ma'am, just one thing. Dividend, how does it help the fifth position in terms of, any sort of your expectation on how it will improve the fifth position? And second is on the rupee, ma'am. We have seen, because of extraneous situation, the currency and RBI has also been very actively trying to support the rupee. Any broader movement that the government, can do sovereign bond dollars or anything of that form is on the table right now?
As I said, a lot of inputs, a lot of suggestions on not just on rupee, on investment, and as you said earlier, on the gold bond. Lots of inputs are being gathered. People voluntarily send, some people are collecting from departments. We will look into every one of these suggestions.
Thank you.
Ma'am, ब्रेंट क्रूड का जो लेवल है वो 100 से नीचे आ चुका है, लेकिन पेट्रोल के प्राइसेस अभी भी बढ़ रहे हैं, तो इस पे आपका क्या कहना है? और 4 बार बढ़ चुका है।
हाँ जी, गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से शायद अबाउट 80 डेज 76 डेज तक लोगों के ऊपर वजन ना बढ़े, ये बोझ ना पड़े, उसके लिए बजट से आज सुबह भी मेरा भाषण में सिडबी के एड्रेस के समय मैंने उस विषय को जिक्र किया। More than 1 lakh crore annually this year we have given through the excise duty reduction. Had we not given that reduction at that time, even at that time 10 rupees would have been the increase at that time itself. So we have given, and that is almost 1 lakh crore on the budget. But the increases now are coming from the oil marketing companies because they are the ones who are procuring and selling. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that was Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. That was really taking the questions from the reporters at the event in Mumbai, and some important aspects that she really answered. First, of course, is that she defended the RBI's dividend policy to the government. Remember that India's central bank will be transferring a record 2.87 trillion rupees to the federal government for the last fiscal year. So, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman really defending the RBI's record transfer of dividend to the government. On the other hand, when asked on various tax concessions and also reversing of long-term capital gains tax, for that Finance Minister has really stated and answered the reporters on this particular bit that all industry, suggestions are going to be welcome on any of the tax rationalization, and especially she mentioned that when asked the question of various tax reliefs in the capital market, including long-term capital gains tax. And another aspect was the fuel-led pressure on the economy, and she also mentioned the measures that have been taken by the government so that additional pressure is really not coming on the people of the country. And therefore, she also mentioned that 1 lakh crore rupees hit on the budget. OMCs also really were taking the hit, and that's why another increase has really taken place when we talk about the fuel prices. But main aspect here, she did also answer the RBI's dividend policy, and that's what she has defended on behalf of the government. All right, let's take it straight to markets today, and optimism really pervaded in the capital markets today as benchmarks really locked the gains of over 1%, while Nifty crossed 24,000 level after, remember, 11 trading sessions. The broader market advanced too, as a matter of fact, barring the FMCG index. All other sectors really rose in trade today. The banking sector especially attracted a lot of buying interest, with the Bank Nifty outperforming the benchmarks. Let's take it across to my colleague Parth, who's joining in with all the market action of today. Parth, tell us.
It was a great day for Nifty after a long time. The index ended up almost 1.3% and finally managed to close above the 23,400 mark. Eicher Motors and Adani Enterprises were the top two gainers in Nifty today, with Eicher Motors gaining almost 6.5% while Adani Enterprises gaining 4.5% today. The broader market underperformed the benchmark today, with Nifty Midcap 150 gaining 0.9%, led by Union Bank and Apollo Tyres, both of which were up by almost 4.5%. Nifty Small Cap 250 also gained around 1%, which was led by Titagarh Rail Systems and Blue Jet Healthcare, both of which managed to gain over 9.5% for the day. Now moving on to the sectoral performance, all sectors ended on a green note except Nifty FMCG. Nifty PSU Bank was the best performing sector, up by over 2%. This was led by Canara Bank and Union Bank, both of which gained over 4% today. Nifty FMCG was on the worst performing side, down almost 0.1% today due to Varun Beverages and Colgate losing over 1.5%. And lastly, if we have a look at the sectoral trends, then Nifty FMCG has fallen for the 6th day in a row, while Nifty IT snapped its 3-day losing streak. Also, Nifty Metal has gained for the 4th consecutive day, while Nifty Auto and Nifty PSU Bank have gained for the 5th consecutive day. Also, Nifty Financial Services and Nifty Bank has gained for the 2nd day in a row.
All right, Parth, thank you so much for getting us the full roundup of the market action today. And in fact, it was the lower crude prices which also added to the momentum of overall recovery in the markets. In fact, ace investor Vijay Kedia says that this is not the time to really get overconfident in the market. Speaking as part of NDTV Profit special town hall interview, Kedia warned that it's still very difficult to confidently say whether the market has already hit the bottom. In fact, according to him, several global headwinds continue to keep the investors on the edge, from geopolitical tensions to volatility in the global markets and also concerns around crude oil prices. The risks are far from over. Listen in.
बोलना मुश्किल है कि वर्स्ट इज ओवर, क्योंकि वर्स्ट इज ओवर मतलब अभी खाली इंडिया को हम आइसोलेशन में नहीं देख सकते हैं, पूरी दुनिया को देखना पड़ेगा कि वर्स्ट इज ओवर। और यहाँ पर इंडिविजुअल स्टॉक का अपना सबका अलग अलग अपना चाल रहती है अपनी, तो हम 6,500 शेयरों की बात कर रहे हैं, तो ये बोलना मुश्किल है कि वर्स्ट इज ओवर। और जहाँ तक इंडेक्स का सवाल है, ये भी बड़ा डिसेप्टिव है, ये भी कोई आपको सही आंकड़े नहीं देता है मार्केट के, क्योंकि अभी इंडेक्स में समझिए 30 शेयर्स हैं।
निफ्टी की सेंसेक्स की बात करें,
हाँ, सेंसेक्स में 30 है, निफ्टी में 50 है समझिए। हाँ। अब 30 में से अगर आप 10% शेयर्स तो ऐसे हैं जिनका सबसे ज़्यादा वेटेज है। फॉर एग्जांपल समझिए बैंकिंग का, NBFC का, रिलायंस का 5, 7, 10 शेयर निकाल लेंगे तो मालूम पड़ा कि 1/3 तो इंडेक्स ऐसे ही उन्हीं से ज़्यादा इफेक्टेड है, तो वो एक सही पिक्चर देता नहीं है इंडेक्स जो है।
All right, so that was the viewpoint on the market and the volatility as well as uncertainty from Vijay Kedia. Let's also take a look at the money market. Well, rupee today strengthened by 40 paise to 95 rupees 20 paise against the dollar, and also ended at 2-week highs of 95.24. Now, remember that the domestic unit has been appreciating against the greenback for the last 3 trading sessions, and this comes in the backdrop of an active peace talk between US and Iran. Also, take a look at crude oil prices. They fell by around 5% as hopes of easing tensions around the Strait of Hormuz really poses as a big relief for the oil market. Both international benchmark indices, the US WTI and the Brent, have both fallen, and reports do suggest a possible deal could reopen the Strait of Hormuz and also reduce the fears of supply shortages. But analysts are still cautious because several of the issues remain unresolved, including the sanctions, security concerns, and also the future of Iran's nuclear program. All right, let's take it straight across to another important view coming in on the economy. And Professor of Economics at Columbia University, Arvind Panagaria, believes that the Indian rupee could really recover once the global uncertainty eases. But he has also warned the RBI against aggressively defending the currency by burning through the forex reserve. Speaking to NDTV Profit, Panagaria also said that the exchange rate should be allowed to do the job during the periods of global stress. According to him, a weaker rupee can actually help absorb the external shocks more efficiently instead of draining the reserves to defend a psychological level like 100 rupees per dollar level. Listen in.
If you let the rupee depreciate today, tomorrow it will recover. Once the problem in with the war in West Asia is resolved, then the import bill will come down. Also, if the rupee has gone, depreciated further, it will become cheaper for the dollars to buy rupee, and therefore dollars will come back, meaning the capital flows will come back in large volumes to take advantage of the cheaper rupee. And so therefore, in a way, the appropriate thing is to let the rest of the adjustment take place.
All right, taking it to fuel price hike, which is the big story of the day. Well, petrol and diesel prices have been increased again today by around 2 rupees 71 paise per litre, marking the fourth hike in fuel prices across the country since the last 11 days. Now, the fuel prices have been increased by 7 rupees 50 paise per litre, and my colleague Somit is here to make us understand its impact on the oil marketing company. Somit, tell us.
Yes, fourth hike in the last 11 days and the second biggest one that we have seen. The first biggest hike was the first hike on May 15th, where it was 3 rupees per litre. Then couple of times we have seen a hike of around 0.9 rupees per litre. That was on May 19th and May 23rd. And just after 2 days now, we are seeing another hike coming in of around 2.71 rupees per litre on May 25th. So in the last 11 days, the prices have been hiked by close to around 7.5 rupees per litre. Now, what could be the impact? Why this price hike? Because oil marketing companies were supposed to incur a loss of close to 1 to 1.2 lakh crore rupees in the first quarter of FY27 because of higher crude oil prices, depreciating rupee, and unchanged retail fuel prices, that is petrol and diesel prices. Now, what would be the impact of this price hike coming in on the oil marketing companies, that is IOCL, BPCL and HPCL? For every 0.5 rupees per litre hike in the petrol and diesel prices, the EBITDA of IOCL, BPCL and HPCL lifts by close to around 7 to 11 odd %. Now, Indian oil OMCs have been recouping the losses. Earlier, the loss was expected to be around 1,000 crore rupees per day, which are reduced to around 750 crore after the 3 rupees per litre hike. Then the couple of hikes of 0.9 rupees per litre reduced it to further 670 crore rupees on a per day basis of post the 0.9 rupees per litre hike that we had seen in the last couple of days. And after this 2.71 rupees per litre hike, this will further reduce the losses for the oil marketing companies by close to around 113 crore rupees per day. And this is around 17% of the daily loss that the oil marketing companies have been seeing. Now, these 4 hikes will help oil marketing companies recoup nearly 44% of the losses that they were incurring at start of the quarter, that is close to 1,000 odd crore rupees. Also, another positive point for the oil marketing companies right now is the fact that crude has slipped below $100 per barrel after many days. So that could also come in sentimentally positive for the oil marketing companies in trade today.
All right, thanks Amit for putting all those numbers and oil maths also into the picture. OMCs passing on the price hike to some extent to the consumers to recoup their losses owing to higher crude oil prices. Now we have the first official comment on the fourth fuel price hike from the Petroleum Ministry, and Sujata Sharma, the Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, has said that the under-recoveries for the oil marketing companies have come down from around 1,000 odd crore rupees per litre, 1,000 rupees per litre earlier to slightly below 600 crores now. However, she also admitted that imports continue to be impacted because of the ongoing West Asia crisis. Listen in.
हमारी ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनीज को घाटा हो रहा था, जैसा हमने आपको बताया वो लगभग 1000 करोड़ प्रतिदिन का था. अब प्राइस राइज के बाद वो घाटा कम हुआ है, बट इट इज स्टिल इन स्लाइटली लेस देन 600 करोड़. उसके अलावा अगर आप एलपीजी देखें तो हमारी सरकार ने वहन किया बोझ को और ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनी ने भी उस बोझ को वहन किया हुआ है.
All right, and encapsulating all that the government and the ministry had to say about the price hike as well as the oil math, Sesa, my colleague, is joining in with all the details. Tell us, Sesa.
Right, so India absorbed the global fuel price for 78 days, before allowing for a phased revision of price hikes, which is about 7.5 litre. Now, what we are given to understand is that this is, again, the lowest among all the major economies, and also this particular price hike, the latest round rather, is likely to reduce OMC's losses from rupees 1,000 rupees per litre to 600 rupees per litre. Now, given that the international oil prices remain unstable and the crisis is yet not over, we cannot rule out yet another price hike, in the coming days. So we have to wait and watch and see what holds for the consumers. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Esa, for putting all that together and putting perspective to it. Now, sources tell NDTV Profit that government is really readying for strong CPSE OFS pipeline, that is the PSUs and offtake from that in the capital market for the government to rake in some money. Now, the government may dilute stake in 3 to 4 of the PSUs through OFS in first 2 quarters of the current financial year. My colleague Shrimi is here with all the details that she's gathering. Shrimi, tell us.
Well, that's right. Government has prepared a strong PSU stake sale pipeline for the current financial year and is likely to pursue offer for sale transaction in at least 3 to 4 public sector companies over the first 2 quarters, including the ongoing one, and that's the indication we are getting. Now, among the key proposal under discussion is a potential dilution of up to 2% stake in Coal India through the OFS route. We are learning that the work is in advanced stage and may soon launch once the market volatility eases. Now, as you're aware, government keep going for these periodic stake sale in, such heavyweights depending on the market appetite, current market volatility to get maximum value realization. And last dilution, if you remember, happened has been some time ago. So in 2 weeks or so, some action is expected to be seen in Coal India. Then possible LIC OFS is also being evaluated in July-September quarter, and that will be equally crucial. As we know, it's been listed through OFS route by government sold 3.5%. And after almost 4 years, government now looking for further round of dilution, likely with a smaller percentage depending on the market move. Further 2 stake sale, Indian Overseas Bank and Railway Finance Corporation also remain under active consideration, and this is mainly the second round of these 2 PSU after divesting 2.17% stake in IOB in December 25, 2% in IRFC earlier this February. Officials said that the government intends to adopt a calibrated and phased approach towards OFS issuances, given the kind of geopolitical dynamics and broader market stability in mind. But do remember the fact that the planned pipeline comes as government pursues an ambitious asset sale and monetization target of 80,000 crore for FY27. More recently, Centre announced 8% stake sale in Central Bank, with non-retail portion of OFS witnessing strong investor demand and getting subscribed 2.35 times on the first day itself, and that is something giving government confidence to action OFS in all these PSUs.
All right, action OFS in several PSUs. Thanks, Shrimi, for all the details. And one of the companies that was really named in that list was also IRFC. In fact, NDTV Profit's Danish Anand spoke to Manoj Kumar Dubey, who's the CMD of IRFC, on this particular matter. Listen in.
If we talk about the government's plan to come out with another OFS for IRFC, in February, so we saw that there was very diluted response from the investors. What sort of appetite are you expecting this time?
So this is not a question for me, this is for Government of India. But to put facts on record, we sold around 1.77% of share at 104 price of the share, and it was very good response from the institutional side. Going forward, you see, I can assure about the good numbers from the company. As you saw the results of annual year FY26 that we published, my PAT grew by 8%. It crossed the 7,000 crore magical mark. We are doing well in all the aspects, and without any pipeline which was there for the last 2 years, we could sanction more than 75,000 crore asset in last year, and we could disperse more than 35,000 crore. So that momentum that we set in last FY in going forward, you see in the first quarter itself, we have signed an agreement of 13,500 crore, which all will be dispersed in Q1. So this kind of deals, which we were really working very hard from the last year, are showing the fruits. And going forward, rest be assured, if company is doing well, if its order book is very strong, if its parameters like net interest margin, everything growing fast, so government will have a good time to see if they really want to sell the shares, and the OFS should have good, attractive participation also.
All right, moving on, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Taj Mahal in Agra with his wife Janet Rubio during his 4-day visit to India. Now, Marco Rubio was also accompanied by U.S. Ambassador to India Sergio Gore. After the Agra visit, he has arrived in Jaipur. Now, Rubio's 4-day visit really concludes on May 26th with the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in New Delhi. During the first 2 days of his visit, Rubio held a series of high-level discussions in New Delhi with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. So that is the visit really coming to an end. Also, US President Donald Trump has struck a cautious note on the ongoing talks with Iran, saying negotiations are progressing, but there is no rush to seal the deal, he says. Now, Trump has instructed US representatives to take their time, even as reports suggest a broad framework may already be in place. If finalized, the agreement could really ease tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and also stabilize global energy supplies. Meanwhile, remember, Iran says that the nuclear issues will be addressed once a formal understanding is reached during his India visit. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that Washington still prefers a diplomatic resolution to the conflict. All right, taking it to another important development which has become a big national news. Well, Tuishar Sharma's death case has taken a major turn, with the Supreme Court really ordering a CBI probe amidst growing concerns over the investigations. In fact, the top court has flagged alleged procedural lapses and also institutional bias, stressing that the probe must really remain fair and impartial. And the court has also urged the media to exercise restraint during the ongoing investigation in this particular matter. All right, with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Profit 360, but stay tuned to NDTV Profit for all the news and views on the other side. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
When the headlines move fast, perspective matters. On Editor's Cut, our editors come together with experts to distill the week's information plates into clear perspective. Down the stories shaping the world, from markets and the economy to global conflicts and what lies ahead. This is where experience meets insight. No noise, no hype, just sharp takes on what to watch next. Editor's Cut, every Friday, 3:30 p.m. only on NDTV Profit.
Economy, business, world, technology. Noise filtered, numbers decoded. Insights that rewire your worldview. From governance to growth, we connect the dots. Your daily edge, your global advantage. India Business Report with me, Gauri Dwivedi, weeknights on NDTV Profit.
He has been tracking markets for over a decade, spots the trends before they hit the screen. And he is now bringing his analysis to the show that the market watches. Watch Sharad Dubey on Know Your Company, a show that puts the most traded stocks under the scanner. We dissect the company so that you, the investor, don't have to get the management to answer questions relevant to you. Watch